Chapter 1045. 1045 Take action, ungrateful wretch. The father and daughter discussed for a while more before Zhou Xian left the room. Oh. Looking at the bright moon in the sky, Zhou Xian sighed. Lu Shaoqing, I hope you don't blame me. You're all peerless heaven's favorites with deep opportunities and high positions. However, we're not the most talented. If we want to rise, we'll have to use some tricks. How can we compare to you? Zhou Xian mumbled to herself and slowly, her eyes became determined. The night passed quickly. The next afternoon, Zhou Xian's voice could be heard from outside Lu Ming's door. Young Master Lu, Zhou Xian called out softly. Lu Ming ended his cultivation and opened the door. He saw Zhou Xian standing at the door. Today, Zhou Xian had dressed up and looked like a lotus flower that had emerged from the water. To be honest, Zhou Xian was a rare beauty and many men would be moved by her. However, Lu Ming had seen too many beautiful women. Xian Yanqing, Jing Kongling, and Goddess Tanxiang were all devastatingly beautiful. Qiu Yu and Mulan were also rare in the world. Zhou Xian could not be compared to them. Hence, Zhou Xian was very ordinary in Lu Ming's eyes. Miss Zhou. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Young Master Lu, my father has prepared a banquet to thank you. Zhou Xian smiled. You're too kind, clan leader Zhou. Let's go over then. Lu Ming smiled. He then followed Zhou Xian out. Soon, they arrived at the main courtyard of the Zhou clan's clan head residence. Haha, young Master Lu, you're here. Please. As soon as Lu Ming arrived, the Zhou family's master came forward to welcome him. There were two elders beside him. Lu Ming's eyes swept across the room and realized that the two elders had strong auras. They were both spiritual god realm powerhouses. However, he should not be too strong. He should be at the first level of the spiritual god realm. The Zhou family's master was obviously stronger. Lu Ming guessed that the Zhou family's master might be at the second level of the spiritual god realm. Zhou family head is too polite. Lu Ming cupped his fists and walked into the courtyard with the Zhou family's master and the rest. The courtyard was already filled with fine wine and delicacies. It was extremely sumptuous. The dishes weren't ordinary. There were dragon tendons, lightning bird wings, thousand-year fire lobsters, and so on. They were all rare delicacies. If eaten frequently, they would be of great benefit to a martial artist's cultivation. They were extremely expensive, and ordinary people wouldn't be able to see them in their entire lives. Everyone sat down and Zhou Xian poured wine for everyone. She raised her glass and said, Young Master Lu, Zhou Xian toasts you. Thank you for saving me. Haha, Miss Zhou, clan leader Zhou, you're too polite. Lu Ming smiled. The father and daughter of the Zhou family were too polite. Lu Ming felt a little embarrassed. Lu Ming picked up the glass of wine. He did not feel that anything was amiss and then drank it all in one go. Seeing Lu Ming drink the fine wine, the Zhou family head and the two elders were overjoyed. Zhou Xian's eyes were filled with pity, but it was quickly replaced by determination. Good wine. Lu Ming drank it and exclaimed in admiration. He still did not seem to notice anything unusual. Haha, since young Master Lu thinks it's good wine, then drink a few more. The clan leader of the Zhou clan laughed. The wine is good, but it's a pity that it's poisoned, so it's no longer good. Lu Ming suddenly said. What? The Zhou clan leader and the others were slightly taken aback. Kill! Lu Ming suddenly roared. His dragon power burst out and he struck a palm at one of the elders. The elder was caught off guard by this palm. He could not defend himself in time and was hit by Lu Ming's palm. With a scream, the old man's body was torn into pieces. Damn it! You're courting death. The clan leader of the Zhou clan bellowed. An elder in the spiritual god realm was killed in an instant. His heart was about to bleed. There were only a few spiritual god realm existences in the Zhou clan. They had been accumulated over thousands of years, and now one of them had died. Boom! A violent aura burst out from the clan leader of the Zhou clan, and he threw a palm at Lu Ming. The palm was so powerful that it could topple mountains and overturn the seas. The heavens and earth shook, and the table and the dishes on it were instantly turned into fine powder. Lu Ming felt a terrifying force surging towards him. This was the power of the second level of the spiritual god realm. Lu Ming took advantage of the situation and struck out with his palm, which collided with the palm of the Zhou family's master. An earth-shattering force gushed forth. Lu Ming's body shook violently and he was sent flying. He took more than 10 steps on the ground. With every step he took, a huge pit was blasted out and the ground shook continuously. What powerful strength, let's go! Lu Ming did not hesitate at all. He took a step forward and the entire mountain shook violently. A terrifying force exploded and the mountain was about to explode. If it were not for the fact that the main peaks of the Zhou family had people inscribing formations, they would have exploded. Lu Ming's body soared into the sky. Stay here. The clan leader of the Zhou clan and another old man soared into the sky. Their terrifying attacks were directed at Lu Ming. I'll smash it. Dandan rushed out, its 4 limbs retracted into the turtle shell, and smashed towards the Zhou clan leader. Boom! The Zhou family's head slammed his palm on the turtle shell, sending Dandan flying. However, with this delay, Lu Ming had already soared into the sky and was ready to use the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps to escape. Boom! Above Lu Ming's head, a vast, terrifying, and unstoppable force erupted and fell on Lu Ming's body. It was as if he had been hit by an ancient divine mountain. He fell like a cannonball and smashed into the ground, creating a huge pit. Lu Ming knelt on one knee on the ground. His face was pale and he kept coughing out blood. In the sky, a white-haired elder appeared. The aura on his body was extremely terrifying, vast, and unfathomable. It was this old man who had sent Lu Ming flying with a single palm. Dandan wanted to escape, but the old man waved his hand and condensed a huge palm, covering the sky and the sun, and grabbed Dandan. 4th level spiritual god realm and above. Lu Ming's heart sank. The elder's cultivation must have reached the 4th level of the spiritual god realm, or even higher. He did not expect the Zhou family to have such a powerful existence. Lu Ming then turned to look at Zhou Exan. His eyes were cold as he shouted, "Why?" Lu Ming was in disbelief. He had never expected that the Zhou family would attack him. Lu Shaoqing, hand over your grotto heaven treasure, and the martial arts techniques you've cultivated. Tell me the secret of your strength. Don't tell me it's because of talent. If a heaven's favorite wants to rise, talent is one aspect, but luck is another. The clan leader of the Zhou family walked up to Lu Ming and said coldly, "Ha ha ha, I see." Lu Ming suddenly laughed out loud. He realized that the Zhou family wanted his mountain and river diagram and some other treasures. Ingrate, the people of the Zhou family were a bunch of ingrates. He had saved Zhou Exan twice, but the Zhou family turned on him in the blink of an eye and wanted to deal with him. How ridiculous was this? Zhou Exan's eyes flashed with a hint of pity, but she gritted her teeth and didn't say anything. Roar! A dragon's roar was heard and the 9-dragon bloodline emerged. Lu Ming transformed into 9 dragons and soared into the sky. 9 dragons, it's actually the bloodline of the 9 dragons? The Zhou family head and the Zhou family's elder exclaimed in unison. They were filled with shock. Chapter 1046. 1046 Trapped. You won't be able to leave today, so stay. Oh! The Zhou family elder let out a long howl. His aura was like a pillar that shot up into the sky, shaking the world. He struck out a palm as large as a mountain, blocking Lu Ming's path of retreat. The palm landed on the 9 dragons. Lu Ming exploded with all his strength. 7 streams of dragon energy, 5 types of concepts, and the prison-suppressing heaven technique were also unleashed to the extreme. With 9 consecutive steps, Lu Ming launched a peak attack. Boom! 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 The Zhou family elder's giant palm started to tremble. The Zhou family elder's face was extremely serious. He sighed. A perfected spirit embryo is actually so powerful. Simply terrifying. Since we've already offended this person, we absolutely can't let him leave. The Zhou family head and the other elder were also shocked. The Zhou family's elder was in existence at the 4th level of the spiritual god realm, but he was still sighing. It was truly shocking. Boom! The Zhou family elder's aura became stronger, and his palm force exploded. Bang! Bang! The 9 dragons continued to explode and then collapsed. Lu Ming's figure reappeared and he fell to the ground, coughing up blood. The Zhou family elder was too strong. Even if he used all his strength, it would still be difficult for him to escape. Buzz! The Zhou family's elder appeared in front of Lu Ming and pointed his finger at him. Lu Ming could not stop him at all. Streams of finger force seeped into Lu Ming's body and a majestic essential core surged in, sealing all of Lu Ming's essential core. Lu Ming could not mobilize any essential core. Buzz! A small pagoda flew out from the Zhou family patriarch's glabella. The small pagoda expanded rapidly and floated above Lu Ming's head. It scattered down rays of light that entered Lu Ming's body. At this moment, Lu Ming felt that not only could he not circulate his essential core, but even the intent runes were sealed. He could not even use the intent. I've already sealed this brat with the essence sealing pagoda. Be it true essence, bloodline, or intent realm, he can't use them. He can't escape. The Zhou family elder said. One of his hands was covered in light and was sealed inside. You little thieves, quickly let me go, or else I'll make you die without a burial place in the future. Dandan's 4 limbs were retracted into the turtle shell, and a voice came from the turtle shell. Little demonic beast, you're looking for death. Zhou family elder scolded. He used his true energy and squeezed, wanting to crush it. But in the next moment, Zhou family elder's expression changed. He realized that Dandan was not moving at all. Ha ha ha, old man, you want to kill me with your pitiable strength? Keep dreaming. Let me tell you, let me go now and let that kid go as well. Otherwise, when I show my power, you'll be dead. Dandan laughed and clamored. Dandan had taken a lot of spirit herbs recently and had recovered a lot. The Zhou family elder's face turned red. He couldn't even crush a little turtle, so he said coldly, I'm going to refine you in a moment. Then, he looked at the clan leader of the Zhou clan and said, this kid has been suppressed. He must have a big secret. I'll leave the rest to you. With that, the Zhou family elder stepped into the air and left. Lu Xiaoqing, you're in our hands now. Hand over your grotto heaven treasure and your cultivation technique. The clan leader of the Zhou clan looked at Lu Ming. Hehe, if you want to kill, then kill. Lu Ming's gaze was extremely cold. He swept his gaze across the Zhou family head, Zhou Exine and another elder, causing them to shiver. Humph! The Zhou clan's clan master snorted coldly. He reached out and sucked the storage ring on Lu Ming's finger into his hand. He scanned the storage ring with his mind, and after a long while, his face darkened and he looked terrible. There were many things in the storage ring, but they were not particularly valuable. There was nothing rare or valuable that could move him. Lu Ming sneered. Most of his precious treasures were stored in one of the mountain peaks in the mountain and river diagram. He had set up an illusion reality switching formation on this mountain. No one could find it except for Lu Ming. It was dangerous to venture outside. He was afraid that the treasure would not fall into someone else's hands if he encountered danger one day. Lu Xiaoqing, hand over the treasure of the grotto heaven, or I'll make you wish you were dead. The Zhou clan leader's eyes flashed with killing intent. Hee. Lu Ming sneered, his gaze turning colder. If I get out of this one day, I'll definitely exterminate the entire Zhou family. You won't have the chance. The clan leader of the Zhou family said coldly. His essential core spread out and formed a ribbon, carrying Lu Ming as he stepped into the air. Zhou Exine and the other old man followed. Very soon the Zhou family had brought Lu Ming to a cave and walked in. The cave slanted downwards, leading to an unknown place. Lu Ming felt that as he went deeper and deeper, the surrounding temperature was getting higher and higher, making him feel hot all over. The people from the Zhou family tried to use their vital essence to resist, but Lu Ming could not. The terrifying temperature affected his body directly, causing him to feel a sharp pain. However, Lu Ming did not even frown. He allowed the Zhou family's clan leader to lead the way. They walked for half an hour before they reached the end. They were in a huge underground cave. They stood on a cliff and looked ahead. Below them was endless purple-red lava. The temperature here was terrifyingly high. The surface of Lu Ming's body was turning red, and he felt a sharp pain. Given Lu Ming's current physical strength, even if ordinary flames were to roast him, They would not be able to burn a single hair on his body. Clearly, the lava and flames here were extraordinary and the temperature was terrifyingly high. The temperature of the lava here was more than 100 times higher than that of ordinary lava. Not only did Lu Ming feel pain in his body, but the blood in his body was also boiling. He felt as if his soul was being torn apart, and there were waves of intense pain. God-burning earth flame. Lu Ming frowned. He recognized the flame. Lu Shaoqing, are you going to hand it over or not? You're a smart person. If you hand it over, I'll give you a quick death. Otherwise, you'll have to enjoy the taste of this God-burning earth flame. The clan leader of the Zhou clan said coldly. However, the only response he got was Lu Ming's disdainful cold smile. If you're so stubborn, then I'll fulfill your wish. With a push of the palm force, Lu Ming's body fell toward the lava and happened to float above the lava. Hoo-hoo! The terrifying purplish-red flame surged and enveloped Lu Ming. The terrifying temperature seeped into Lu Ming's body and began to burn. Waves of unimaginable pain drowned Lu Ming, not only in his physical body but also in his soul. Pain, unimaginable pain. Even with Lu Ming's wisdom, he let out a muffled groan and broke out in cold sweat. However, the cold sweat evaporated as soon as it appeared. Hoo-hoo! Lu Ming panted heavily, gritting his teeth and persevering. He had once stepped on the Heavenly King Steel's staircase and suffered countless attacks. Some of them had pierced his soul and were also extremely painful. Similarly, he had cultivated the Forbidden Twin technique and his soul had to be split into two. That was also an unimaginable pain. Therefore, Lu Ming's endurance was better than ordinary people. He adjusted his breathing and calmed himself down. The Zhou clan leader's eyes started to turn cold, but slowly they were filled with shock. Lu Ming actually withstood it. Fine, you won't say it, right? Then stay here forever and suffer the burning of the God-burning earth flame. Elder Shan, let's go. The clan leader of the Zhou clan waved his sleeve and strode out. He had lost his patience. The two of them left the place. Along the path, stone doors were closed, sealing off the area. Lu Ming's physical body was locked and his cultivation level was suppressed. He could not cause any trouble. They planned to suppress Lu Ming here and see how long he could last. Lu Ming sat cross-legged on the lava, unmoving. He entered an extremely mysterious state and forgot everything. He instinctively felt the way of heaven and earth and the realm of heaven and earth. Time flowed like water, passing by quickly day by day. In the beginning, the clan leader of the Zhou family would come here every 7 days to interrogate Lu Ming. Later on, he came once a month. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. Lu Ming had been suppressed here for a full year. In a cave in the Zhou family's elder sat cross-legged, his palm emitting a raging flame that was burning a turtle shell. This turtle shell was Dandan. Little thief, I told you, you can't do anything to me. Just wait for your death. Inside the turtle shell, Dandan was clamoring. The moment the flames dissipated, the Zhou family elder looked at the turtle shell in his hand with a serious expression. In the past year he had used all kinds of methods but he couldn't do anything to Dandan, and he couldn't kill it no matter what. This made him extremely shocked, and he felt more and more afraid. He had also heard that Lu Ming had been suppressed in the God-burning earthly flame for a year. He had not moved at all and had actually endured it for a whole year. All of this made the Zhou family elder feel a sense of fear, and he could not calm down. At this moment a figure walked in. It was the clan leader of the Zhou clan. How's that Lu Shaoqing kid? The Zhou family elder asked. That brat still hasn't said a word. He really deserves to die. The clan leader of the Zhou clan gritted his teeth. I can't let this continue. That kid and that turtle are both too evil. I can't let them live. I'll wait 3 more months. If that kid still doesn't say anything, I'll kill him. And that turtle, after I kill that kid, I'll go out and ask a paragon to exterminate that turtle. The Zhou clan elder spoke. All right. The clan leader of the Zhou clan nodded helplessly. If they killed Lu Ming, they would not be able to obtain the Grotto Heaven treasure, and all their efforts would be in vain. However, he was getting more and more flustered by keeping Lu Ming around. Lu Ming was too evil. It was too dangerous to keep him around. In the underground cave, Lu Ming was still sitting cross-legged on the lava. The essence sealing pagoda was suspended above his head, suppressing him. His true Yuan bloodline and intent couldn't be moved. However, at this moment, a blood-colored light suddenly spread out from his spine. Slowly, the blood-red light became more and more intense. In the end, the blood-red light bloomed and covered the color of the purple-red lava. The entire underground cave was filled with blood-red light. Then a drop of blood seeped out from Lu Ming's spine and floated above his head. This drop of blood was bright red and crystal clear, but it seemed extremely cold. It exuded endless killing intent and a supreme dignity. It was vast and mighty, filling the entire underground cave. Buzz! Lu Ming's eyes, which had been closed for a year, suddenly opened. The third bloodline. This is my third bloodline. Lu Ming's eyes glowed. After sitting here for a year, his body and soul had gone through many trials. At this time he had finally awakened his third bloodline. However, what surprised Lu Ming was that his blood meridian did not have a chakra. Chapter 1048. 1048 Chapter 1048 Passing the Spiritual God Tribulation. Lu Ming had never expected that his third blood meridian was actually a drop of blood. This drop of blood was definitely not the blood essence of the 9 dragons, but a blood meridian that had been awakened in his body. Oh! Moreover, there were no chakras around the drop of blood, which was a little unbelievable. It was exactly the same as when he had just awakened his 9-dragon bloodline. When the bloodline of the 9 dragons was first awakened, there was not a single chakra. However, it would continue to improve after devouring blood essence. But now was the third bloodline the same. Lu Ming's mind merged with the third bloodline and he sensed it carefully. Kill, kill, kill. As soon as Lu Ming merged with the third bloodline, a deafening roar exploded in his mind. The voice was mighty and majestic. It was filled with killing intent, and Lu Ming was instantly drowned in it. Kill! Lu Ming let out an explosive roar, his eyes filled with a terrifying killing intent. At this moment his heart was filled with endless killing intent, as if he wanted to slaughter all the living creatures in the world. Boom! 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 At the same time, Lu Ming could feel an endless amount of energy in the drop of blood in his third blood meridian. In Lu Ming's eyes, the drop of blood was no longer a drop of blood. It was a sea of blood, an endless sea of blood that was filled with endless energy. Lu Ming felt that even a martial royal realm expert would be as insignificant as an ant in front of this energy. At this moment, a trace of energy surged into Lu Ming's body. This trace of energy was not even 1 in a billion of the entire energy in the blood sea. But it was already extremely terrifying. Kill! Lu Ming bellowed again. His murderous intent was boundless. At this moment, a layer of blood-red light emanated from his body. The strange thing was that his hair had turned blood-red, as red as fresh blood. Lu Ming's blood-red hair fluttered in the wind. A terrifying energy burst out from his body. Bang! 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 The few iron chains that were originally hanging down from the essence sealing pagoda instantly collapsed and turned into powder. The light that scattered from the essence sealing pagoda, the light that suppressed Lu Ming's cultivation, was also crushed by this force. Without the power to suppress it, Lu Ming's essential core, which had been suppressed for a year, started to roar wildly. His spirit embryo was beating violently like a heart. At the same time, the intense symbol shone and rapidly grew longer. Boom! 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 A 5-colored pillar of light shot up into the sky and struck the essence sealing pagoda. The essence sealing pagoda shook continuously and finally exploded. Intent. Lu Ming's 5 types of intents had all broken through to the 4th level. A terrifying energy surged, causing the lava below to roil and the cave above to shake. At this moment in the Zhou family elder was shocked. His aura rose to the sky and his eyes were filled with shock. He shouted, "Not good, something's happened in the underground cave." After saying that, he quickly rushed into the underground cave. 4th level intent. 4th level intent. Lu Ming roared. In the end, his spirit was not crushed by the endless murderous thoughts, and he still retained a part of his spiritual intelligence. Then I'll break through to the spiritual god realm. Roar! The 9-dragon bloodline roared and emerged. Lu Ming waved his hand and a pile of raw gemstones appeared in the air. There were millions of raw gemstones in this pile. There were still about 500,000 raw gemstones given to him by the 9 Suns Supreme Master. In addition to the raw gemstones he had obtained from killing some enemies during this period of time, he had a total of more than 1 million. The 9 dragons opened their mouths and swallowed the 1 million raw gemstones in one go. Thump! 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 In his dantian, his spirit embryo was beating rapidly, as if a living being was being born. At this moment, the spirit embryo burst out with a strong suction force, attracting Lu Ming's soul into the spirit embryo. Boom! The next moment, the spirit embryo shattered, and a figure appeared in his dantian. This figure was clearly a miniature version of Lu Ming. It looked exactly the same as Lu Ming, but it was very small and mini, only the size of a fist. This was the spirit god, formed by gathering the essence, qi, and spirit of a warrior. Lu Ming let out a long howl. His body moved and he soared into the sky. The rocks above the cave exploded and shattered like tofu. At this moment, the entire Drum-Edge Mountain and the entire Zhou family started to shake violently. Buzz! Then a blood-red light rushed out of the ground and floated in the sky. In the blood-red light, Lu Ming stood in the air. His entire body was shrouded in blood-red light, and his killing intent was like a tide. Kill! 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 From his third bloodline, there were constant roars and killing intent surging into Lu Ming's mind. You? How did you escape? Not far away, a voice of disbelief came. It was the Zhou family elder. At this moment, many figures were flying over from all over the Zhou family. They were all alarmed. Buzz! Whoosh! Oh! One figure after another appeared. The head of the Zhou family, the elder of the Zhou family, Zhou Exan. How is that possible? How did you manage to escape? The clan leader of the Zhou clan shouted in disbelief. His eyes were so wide that they were about to burst. Haha, I knew it. You guys can't trap this kid. The Zhou family elder laughed heartily. Kill. So what if you come out? This time I'll kill you completely. Zhou family's elder shouted and charged at Lu Ming. However, the next moment, his hair stood on end as a terrifying sense of danger arose in his heart. He subconsciously raised his head to look at the sky. His pupils suddenly contracted as he shouted, Heavenly tribulation, it's heavenly tribulation, you're going to undergo the tribulation. At this moment, the wind and clouds gathered in the sky. Endless dark clouds seemed to have appeared out of thin air, covering the sky and the sun. Endless lightning flashed in the dark clouds, exuding a terrifying power. At this moment, Lu Ming had not completely entered the spiritual god realm. He still needed to undergo the spiritual god tribulation. Only after passing the spiritual god tribulation could he be considered to have truly entered the spiritual god realm. If he could not pass it, he would be reduced to ashes. Not good, retreat, quickly retreat. The Zhou family elder roared. If they were dragged into the heavenly tribulation, they would have to undergo it as well. Moreover, the power of the heavenly tribulation would change according to the cultivation of the warrior. If they were not prepared and got involvered, they would be courting death. The Zhou family's elder retreated quickly, wanting to stay far away. He would come and kill Lu Ming after he transcended the tribulation. He was confident that even if Lu Ming entered the first level of the spiritual god realm, he would still be able to kill him. In the spiritual god realm, the gap between each level was extremely huge. He did not believe that Lu Ming could cross 3 levels and fight him while he was in the spiritual god realm. Old dog, where do you think you're going? Lu Ming fixed his eyes on the Zhou family patriarch. He took a step forward and used the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps. At this moment, Lu Ming's 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps was several times faster than it was a year ago. It seemed that Lu Ming's 9 dragons' heaven treading steps had also broken through in the past year. His body was like a bolt of lightning as he approached the Zhou family patriarch. Boom! 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 At this moment, the dark clouds in the sky churned and a bolt of lightning as thick as a water tank struck down at Lu Ming. The 5 wills gathered and formed a 5-colored armor that covered Lu Ming's entire body. Lu Ming did not even look at the lightning and continued to chase after the Zhou family patriarch. Boom! The lightning drowned Lu Ming, but he charged past it and was unharmed. Boom! 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 There was a deafening roar in the sky. This time, 3 bolts of lightning struck at Lu Ming. Chapter 1049. 1049 Killing the Zhou family's elder. 3 bolts of lightning, each as thick as a water tank, streaked across the sky as if it was tearing the sky into several pieces. The supreme heavenly might filled the air, and many of the Zhou family disciples below trembled as if a great disaster was about to befall them. However, facing such a terrifying lightning, Lu Ming did not care and rushed towards the Zhou family patriarch. Get lost! Get lost! The Zhou family elder was terrified. He rushed forward and roared. He was terrified and aggrieved, but he did not dare to attack Lu Ming. Lu Ming was undergoing a lightning tribulation. If he attacked Lu Ming, he would be directly implicated in the lightning tribulation. He was looking forward to Lu Ming being killed by the lightning tribulation. Boom! 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 The 3 bolts of lightning struck Lu Ming, but he was completely fine. He did not even slow down as he approached the Zhou family elder at top speed. Freak! Zhou family elder was even more terrified. Lu Ming was simply abnormal. He did not resist the lightning tribulation at all. It was simply unbelievable. The heavenly tribulation was a sharp blade hanging over the head of every martial artist. Countless martial artists were turned into ashes under the heavenly tribulation. Before he broke through to the spiritual God realm, he had prepared for hundreds of years. When the final lightning tribulation descended, he was also surrounded by danger and barely survived. How could it have been so easy? Haha, little thief, are you afraid now? Just wait for your death. Dandan laughed loudly, extremely arrogant. You're the one who'll die first. Go into the lightning tribulation. The Zhou family elder hardened his heart and threw Dandan into the lightning tribulation. Boom! 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 Once he entered the lightning tribulation, the tribulation clouds in the sky became even more terrifying. Lightning rumbled and filled the sky, causing the earth to shake. Chila! Immediately, a bolt of lightning struck Dandan. Dandan stretched out her limbs and head, opened her mouth and swallowed the lightning. Then she stretched lazily and shouted, "Ahaha, I'm finally out. I've been a coward for a year. Haha, this is so comfortable." This guy's body was emitting electricity, but his eyes were shining with excitement. The Zhou family's elder and the Zhou family's people's eyes almost popped out. Pervert demon, all of you are perverts. Go! The Zhou family elder had lost his sense of propriety and only knew how to run for his life. However, Lu Ming's speed was too fast. He turned into a stream of light and closed in on the Zhou family elder in a few moments. In the sky, dark clouds rolled and covered the Zhou family elder. No! The Zhou family elder roared in anger, but it was useless. Thunder and lightning rumbled and a bolt of lightning shot towards the Zhou family elder. This bolt of lightning was even more terrifying than the one that was shooting towards him. The Zhou family elder fought back with all his might and destroyed the lightning. Boom! 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 At this moment, 9 bolts of lightning shot toward Lu Ming, but he easily blocked them. At this moment, Lu Ming had 5 intents on him and was extremely powerful. The lightning tribulation could not touch him at all. Gah! Suddenly, another cry rang out in the sky. A huge bird swooped down from the dark clouds and pounced at Lu Ming. This bird was actually completely condensed from lightning. The lightning condensed into the bird, making it look like a real living creature. The manifestation of lightning was a lightning tribulation that only supreme geniuses would encounter. No, the lightning tribulation. No, how could this be? The Zhou family elder shouted in despair. Don't. The clan leader of the Zhou clan also roared. Lu Ming was going through a lightning tribulation. The Zhou family's patriarch was enveloped by the heavenly tribulation. He would definitely have to face a lightning tribulation. If it was an ordinary lightning tribulation, he might have some hope. However, he had no hope at all in a lightning tribulation. He was desperate and angry, but immediately 3 more bolts of lightning struck down, and the Zhou family elder could only block them with all his might. After the 3 bolts of lightning, Zhou family elder's hair was disheveled and he spat out blood. But in the sky, another 9 bolts of lightning descended and struck at the Zhou family elder. The Zhou family elder was terrified and immediately used bloodline fusion. The Zhou family elder's divine level bloodline was a flame vine, which was a 4th level divine level bloodline. The blazing flame vine was hundreds of meters long. It was filled with flames and blasted towards the 9 lightning bolts. Boom! 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 After 9 bolts of lightning, the leaves and branches of the flame vine withered. It was charred black and its aura was weak. It was almost struck to death. On the other side, Dandan was extremely relaxed. No matter what kind of lightning struck him, he would swallow it in one gulp and enjoy it. Lu Ming was equally relaxed. He threw a punch and the giant lightning eagle was blown apart. Go, you guys, go quickly, leave this place. The Zhou family old ancestor knew that he had no hope. He shouted and hoped that the Zhou family head and the others would escape. Kill! Lu Ming hollered and strode towards the Zhou family elder. If I die, you won't have an easy time either. The Zhou family patriarch roared madly. The flame vine twisted wildly and lashed at Lu Ming. Since he was already under the lightning tribulation, he planned to die together with Lu Ming. Kill, kill, kill! Lu Ming's blood-red hair fluttered in the wind. His murderous intent was like a tide, and his eyes had turned blood-red, looking extremely evil. The 3rd bloodline on his head, a drop of blood, started to wriggle and turned into a sword. Lu Ming grabbed the sword. At that moment, endless killing intent surged into Lu Ming's body, making his killing intent even stronger. Buzz! The blood-red sword cut through the void and the space was torn apart, revealing a dark crack with an unfathomable depth. The combat sword was invincible. It slashed through the Zhou family elder's attack and cut the flame vine into 2. Zhou family's elder let out a shrill scream. The flame vine disappeared, and Zhou family's elder's body reappeared. He spat out a large mouthful of blood. Kill! The killing intent was like a tide. The battle sword slashed, and there was only a blood-red sword light in the sky, which was extremely stunning. Poochie! The Zhou family elder didn't even have time to scream before he was killed. No! In the distance, the clan leader of the Zhou family shouted at the top of his lungs when he saw this scene. The old ancestor of the Zhou family was the backbone of the Zhou family. Now that he was killed, even if Lu Ming died now, the Zhou family's strength would be greatly reduced. They would be devoured by other forces. Roar! The bloodline of the 9 dragons roared and devoured all of the Zhou family elder's blood essence, vital essence, and energy. Then, he took a step forward and chased after an elder from the Zhou family. At that moment, Lu Ming's gaze swept across the room, and he realized that the Zhou family still had 3 spiritual god-level powerhouses. The Zhou family had a total of 5 spirit god powerhouses. One of them was killed by Lu Ming a year ago. Now that the Zhou family's elder was dead, there were 3 more left. The clan leader of the Zhou clan and 2 other elders. The 2 elders were both in the 1st level of the spiritual god realm. A 1st level spiritual god was much slower than Lu Ming. Lu Ming caught up to the elder in no time. The blood-red sword slashed down, and the elder screamed in pain. He was killed by Lu Ming before he could strike him with the lightning punishment. Lu Ming turned around and charged at another elder. Don't! Spare me! The elder begged for mercy, but he was met with a blood-red sword light. Blood gushed out and the elder was killed. The clan leader's face was filled with despair. The Zhou family was finished. He knew that the Zhou family was completely finished. The only thing he could think of now was to run for his life. However, Lu Ming's speed was too fast. He could not escape at all. Lu Ming caught up to him before he could fly 10,000 miles. Boom! 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 Bolts of lightning struck down on the Zhou clan leader. He tried his best to block them, But after 2 rounds of lightning tribulation, he was heavily injured. Lu Ming stepped forward and threw a punch, completely crippling the Zhou family's clan leader's cultivation. Chapter 1050. 1050 Stepping into the spiritual god stage. Then he grabbed the Zhou clan's clan leader with one hand and struck out with the other hand, scattering a thunder tiger that had been condensed from thunder and lightning. Oh! At that moment, more living beings condensed from lightning pounced at Lu Ming, but were defeated by him one by one. Lu Ming took a step forward and returned to the sky above the Zhou family. At this moment, the other members of the Zhou family were still looking at the sky in shock, not knowing what was happening. They did not understand why a person would be undergoing a tribulation in the Zhou family's sky, nor did they understand why the few spirit god experts had scattered and fled. Everything happened too quickly. It had only been a few minutes since Lu Ming rushed out of the underground cave and started his tribulation transcendence. No, please let them go. They are innocent. The clan leader of the Zhou family was in Lu Ming's hands. Even if there were lightning bolts that struck him, they were all destroyed by Lu Ming. At this moment, his heart was filled with despair and incomparable regret. He regretted it. He regretted being so greedy for Lu Ming's treasures. He did not expect Lu Ming to be so freakish. He was suppressed in the god-burning earthly flame, but he could still break through and even attract the lightning tribulation. This was unbelievable. However, it was too late to regret. He only hoped that Lu Ming would let the Zhou family off. However, at this moment, Lu Ming's killing intent was unimaginably strong. He only wanted to destroy and kill everyone in the Zhou family to take revenge for the suffering he had suffered this year. Kill. There was only coldness in Lu Ming's eyes. In his mind there were constant roars. Kill. Lu Ming took a step forward and shouted. The 9 dragons' bloodline roared and the terrifying devouring power burst forth, enveloping all the Zhou family members. Don't. Help. Screams rose and fell. One by one, the essence, qi, and spirit of the Zhou family members were devoured, turning into dried corpses. All the blood essence, vital essence, and energy were devoured by the 9 dragon bloodlines. They were constantly refined into vital essence and poured into the spirit god. No. The Zhou family head's eyes were dazed as he watched everything. Almost all the disciples of the Zhou clan were dead. The Yangu mountain was covered with corpses. No, there was one more person who was limply lying on a mountain peak with a dull look in her eyes. It was Zhou Xian. Although Lu Ming's killing intent was overwhelming and he was affected by the 3rd bloodline, he still retained a trace of rationality and deliberately made Zhou Xian stay. He took a step forward and appeared not too far away from Zhou Xian. Boom! 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 At that moment, there were still lightning creatures pouncing at Lu Ming, but they could not do anything to him. Lu Ming's combat strength was too strong. He had cultivated 5 types of heaven and earth intent realms, and had an outburst of dragon energy. The most terrifying thing was that the trace of energy that had surged into his 3rd bloodline not only made Lu Ming's killing intent surge, but his combat strength had also become more terrifying. He could easily withstand the lightning punishment. Do you regret this? Lu Ming said coldly. His blood-red eyes were fixed on Zhou Xian. Zhou Xian looked at the clan leader of the Zhou family in a daze and then at Lu Ming. That's right. It's all our fault. It's karma. This is karma. We've brought this upon our slaviers. We can't live. Shiner, it's all my fault. Lu Xiaoqing, I'm begging you. I'm begging you to spare Shiner. It's all my fault. The clan leader of the Zhou clan shouted. You all deserve to die. Lu Ming's eyes were cold and he was unmoved. Oh. With a wave of his hand, he threw the clan leader of the Zhou clan out. A bolt of lightning struck down, and the clan leader of the Zhou clan turned into ashes. Father! Zhou Xian called out. Zhou Xian, you gave me the purple jade back then. There are spatial stones in the purple jade, which are of great use to me. However, I've saved your life twice after that. That's enough to make up for the spatial stones you gave me. After that, you guys attacked me and suppressed me. Today, it's only natural for me to kill you. Everything is your own fault. You should kill yourself. Lu Ming's gaze was cold. He had no intention of letting Zhou Excian off. Haha, good. Then let me follow my father. Zhou Excian laughed bitterly. Her body suddenly moved and she charged towards Lu Ming. Qila. The lightning struck Zhou Excian and she was reduced to ashes. At this point the Zhou family was almost completely dead. Boom, boom, boom. The lightning tribulation was still continuing, and it was getting stronger and stronger. Lu Ming punched continuously, blowing up a few thunder-shaped creatures. At the same time he refined the blood essence and primordial qi of the Zhou family members into his own primordial qi in his 9-dragon bloodline. Lu Ming's spiritual god was becoming fuller and more solid. At the same time, Lu Ming poured the energy of the blood essence into the 3rd bloodline. However, he realized that the 3rd bloodline did not absorb the energy of the blood essence at all. What's going on? Why aren't you absorbing it? Lu Ming had initially thought that the 3rd bloodline did not have a meridian cycle. It was like the 9 dragons bloodline in the past, where it needed blood essence energy to level up. Now it seemed that it was not the same at all. The 3rd bloodline seemed to be the same as well. It did not have a chakra. Since the 3rd bloodline could not be absorbed, Lu Ming transferred the energy of the blood essence to the 2nd bloodline, and let the prison-suppressing steel bloodline absorb it. Not enough, the energy is still not enough. Lu Ming took out the Zhou family patriarch storage ring. With a thought, a huge pile of raw gemstones appeared. There were at least 1 million of them. They were devoured by the 9 dragons and continued to refine. Boom! Boom! As time passed, the power of the lightning tribulation grew stronger and stronger. However, Lu Ming still managed to block all of them. After 15 minutes, the dark clouds in the sky finally disappeared, and the lightning disappeared. Lu Ming had finally survived the lightning tribulation and become a spiritual god. The lightning tribulation that was difficult for others was not difficult for Lu Ming. Once the lightning tribulation was over, the endless spirit qi in the world gathered toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's aura rose rapidly. Let's leave this place. Lu Ming's figure moved and he disappeared from the place. A few hours later, Lu Ming was sitting cross-legged on a mountain peak a few million miles away. At this moment his aura had already stabilized, and he had officially stepped into the spiritual god realm, 1st level spiritual god. At this moment, all the blood was absorbed into Lu Ming's body. His hair turned black once again. When he opened his eyes, he became calm, pure, and free of any killing intent. Phew, the 3rd bloodline so powerful. Lu Ming heaved a long sigh of relief. The vast and endless killing intent was too shocking. Previously, Lu Ming had almost been controlled by it. It's because I have a strong desire to kill the Zhou family. Otherwise, I should be able to control this power. Lu Ming pondered secretly. Previously, he already had a strong killing intent towards the Zhou family. With the addition of the 3rd bloodline, he was almost overwhelmed by the killing intent, which led to him almost killing the entire Zhou family. With Lu Ming's original personality, he would not have gone so far. At most, he would have killed the higher-ups of the Zhou family. He would have let off those of lower cultivation levels. However, when he was faced with the tide-like killing intent earlier, he only wanted to kill. He wanted to kill everyone in the Zhou family to vent his hatred. However, what had already happened. Lu Ming would not regret it. Since the Zhou family had treated him that way and suppressed him for a year, he had to bear the consequences. What exactly is this 3rd bloodline? A drop of blood? But there's such a vast power inside? Previously, Lu Ming had only borrowed a trace of the power, but his strength had increased greatly. However, his will had almost been crushed by the killing intent. This made Lu Ming shiver in fear. He had to be careful when he used his 3rd bloodline in the future. If he were to borrow even more power, his mind would probably be drowned by boundless killing intent in an instant and he would become a puppet that only knew how to kill. Chapter 1051. 1051 Wind and Clouds Gathering in Central Continent. I've gained a lot this time. Oh, Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. In the god-burning earthly flame, Lu Ming entered an ethereal state. Just like that, a year passed. In this 1 year, he had actually been comprehending the essence realm of heaven and earth and various martial arts techniques. In that state, it was much faster to comprehend various concepts and martial arts techniques. In addition to Lu Ming's current level of comprehension, his progress was naturally terrifying. Unknowingly, his 5 kinds of intent realm had already broken through to the 4th level. Thus, when his 3rd bloodline awakened and he broke through the chi ceiling pagoda that suppressed him, his 5 kinds of intent realm began to improve rapidly and broke through to the 4th level. At the same time, he also began to break through to the spiritual god realm. Now, Lu Ming could clearly sense that his 5 types of intents had all reached the peak of level 4 beginner. He was only 1 step away from level 4 lower tier. Moreover, he had also cultivated the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps to the 7th step. Its power was equivalent to the highest level of a low-grade divine martial technique, and its power was amazing. In the next moment, with a thought, the bloodline of the prison-suppressing steel emerged with 6 golden chakras. After refining the Zhou clan's blood essence, the prison-suppressing steel's bloodline had also advanced by 1 level, reaching divine level 6. My body, under the burning and tempering of the god-burning earthly flame, has also broken through and reached the 9th grade. Lu Ming smiled. In the future, I'll have to be more careful. If I don't trust people, I can't easily expose a treasure like the mountain and river diagram. This incident had taught Lu Ming a lesson. One should not reveal one's wealth, not to mention an important treasure like the mountain and river diagram. It was easy for others to be greedy. This time, if it were not for the Zhou family who wanted to force out his secret, and force him to hand over the mountain and river diagram, he would have been dead. If it wasn't for the fact that he had just awakened his 3rd bloodline, which was so powerful that he didn't need to use his genuine yuan, he wouldn't have been able to escape. He was lucky this time, but Lu Ming did not want to have a second time. Haha, awesome. On the other side, Dandan laughed loudly, lightning still flashing all over her body. This fellow had absorbed a huge amount of tribulation lightning energy earlier, and he was still digesting it. What a freak. The power of God tribulation lightning was something that even the bloodline of the 9 dragons couldn't devour. Lu Ming, I didn't misjudge you. Dandan flew over and laughed. I didn't expect you to last a year. Lu Ming said. Don't you know who I am? My defense is unrivaled in the world. That guy refined me for a year trying to refine me, but in the end, he didn't even hurt a single hair of mine. Dandan said smugly. You have fur. Lu Ming was full of disdain. It's just a list. Your bloodline, on the other hand, is very shocking. Even I feel flustered when I look at it. Dandan sized up Lu Ming. Can you tell what bloodline it is? Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he asked. I don't know you. To be honest, I don't even know your 2nd bloodline. You're a pervert. I don't know you have 2 bloodlines, but your 2nd bloodline looks familiar. I think I've seen it somewhere before. She mumbled, but in the end, she still couldn't remember anything. It's as good as not saying anything. Lu Ming looked at him in disdain. He then stood up and left in the air. It's been a year. I wonder what cultivation level those geniuses have reached? Lu Ming yearned for it and left quickly. Next, Lu Ming went to the Savage Mountain to look for powerful demonic beasts to fight with. His main purpose was to test the power of his 3rd bloodline. As expected, every time Lu Ming activated his 3rd blood meridian, there would be an endless surge of killing intent. Moreover, Lu Ming could sense the boundless sea of blood from that drop of blood, and he could also borrow the power of the sea of blood. However, with Lu Ming's current cultivation, he could only borrow a trace of it. Moreover, every time he borrowed the power of the 3rd bloodline, he was filled with killing intent, as if he wanted to kill all the living creatures in the world. The killing intent was too shocking, and it seemed to contain boundless hatred. Why does he have such a strong killing intent and such a strong hatred? It's said that any bloodline can be traced back to ancient, primordial and immemorial creatures, divine weapons and heaven and earth spirits. What kind of creature does this drop of blood belong to? Lu Ming was filled with doubts and his imagination ran wild. As he moved forward, he cultivated and explored at the same time. Slowly, Lu Ming became more and more familiar with the use of the third bloodline. He could already maintain his calm mind and not be affected by the surging killing intent. In 9 Dragons of the East Continent, the Divine Emperor Dongfangyu stood respectfully in front of Martial Emperor Di in a palace. On both sides of the palace stood the family masters of the 6 ancient families. Congratulations, Your Majesty! Young Master Di Shen has successfully broken through to the spiritual god realm. If you see Lu Ming again, you will definitely be able to kill him easily. The patriarch of the Wang clan congratulated him with a smile. That's right. With young Master Di Shen's talent, once he becomes a spiritual god, he will be able to exert a terrifying power of the space mentality. It will be easy to kill Lu Ming. The master of the Jiang family also took the opportunity to flatter him. Martial Emperor Di nodded and said, Shen'er is indeed not bad. He is invincible in the East Continent, but don't underestimate the heroes of the world. The Central Continent has always been a place where geniuses are born in large numbers. In this era, there are many geniuses who are not weaker than Shen'er. The top 5 young warriors are even more powerful. You can't be complacent. Shen'er knows. The Emperor God bowed and said, Yes, I've received news that the Wanxiang Jade Wall of the Central Continent's Tianxia Academy will be open to the public. Heroes from all over the world can go and see it. You two can go to the Central Continent together and see the heroes of the world. You can also train yourself, said Martial Emperor Di. Di Shen and Dongfangyu's eyes lit up with anticipation. The Central Continent had always been known as the center of the divine wilderness. How strong and prosperous was it, and how strong were its geniuses? They were looking forward to it. The same thing was happening in the Heavenly Corpse sect and the Sky Demon Valley. In a huge ancient tomb in the Sky Corpse sect, Blood Sword One and Corpse Warrior stood respectfully in front of the Corpse Emperor. Now that the myriad form Jade Wall of the Tianxia Academy in the Central Continent is open to the public, all of you can go to the Central Continent together and try your luck. According to my guess, the Heaven's favorites from the Northern Plains, Western Desert and Southern Nether will also be heading to the Central Continent. The Central Continent will become a place where the wind and clouds will gather. You can go and experience it. The Corpse Emperor said. Yes. Blood Sword One, Corpse Warrior bowed and said. In the Heavenly Demon Valley, Ao2 and Feng Xian also stepped into the teleportation array to the Central Continent under the instructions of the Demon Emperor. Roar! 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 In a barbaric mountain range, a black panther with 3 heads roared and pounced at Lu Ming. A brutal aura filled the forest. The 3 heads let out 3 loud roars. The clouds in the sky were scattered, and the mountain range rumbled. Its 3 heads spewed out flames, lightning, and ice respectively. It was extremely terrifying. It was a ferocious beast in the 2nd level of the spiritual god realm. Chapter 1052. 1052 Chapter 1052 Illusionary Breath Technique. A drop of blood appeared on top of Lu Ming's head. It was the 3rd bloodline. Then, a trace of bloodlight surged into Lu Ming's body. In an instant, Lu Ming's body was covered in blood light. His long black hair turned blood red, and his eyes were like bright red rubies, emitting endless killing intent. Oh! The 3rd blood meridian squirmed and transformed into a combat sword that Lu Ming held in his hand. Whoosh! The combat sword slashed down and the space cracked. A blood-red sword light with a hint of black cut through the sky and slashed at the 3 Black Panthers. As the sword light slashed, the 3 Black Panthers' attacks were destroyed. The sword light continued forward, cutting the 3 Black Panthers in half. The 3-headed Black Panther, which was equivalent to the 2nd level of the spiritual god realm, was killed by Lu Ming with a single slash. After breaking through to the spiritual god realm, Lu Ming's combat strength had increased too much. Just now, he had only used the power of his 3rd bloodline. He didn't use his dragon power or intent. Of course, at the spiritual god realm, Lu Ming naturally could not kill enemies that were 5 to 6 levels higher than him like he was at the spirit embryo realm. That was unrealistic. To be able to cross over to the spiritual god realm, They were already the cream of the crop. When they were in the spirit embryo realm, they were already able to kill enemies that were several levels higher. When facing such a cream of the crop, Lu Ming naturally could not kill enemies that were 5 or 6 levels higher. That would be too exaggerated. Moreover, the difference between each level of the spiritual god realm was extremely huge. Lu Ming was not sure how many levels he could kill if he went all out. When I borrow the power of the third bloodline, it actually contains a powerful slaughter domain. With a thought, the third bloodline entered Lu Ming's body. His hair turned black again, the blood-red light disappeared, and so did his killing intent. He returned to his original appearance, but he was a little surprised. The killing intent domain was an extremely terrifying intent domain. It was filled with killing intent and was extremely terrifying. This kind of intent domain was one of the most terrifying intent domains in the world. It was not weaker than the time and space intent domains. This was not the concept that Lu Ming had personally comprehended. However, he could borrow it when he used his third blood meridian. Although Lu Ming did not comprehend it himself, it could be used as his killing move. Lu Ming was very satisfied. The bloodline of the 9 dragons emerged, and with a palm force, he devoured the blood essence and demonic power of the 3 black panthers. Then with a flash of his body, he left the place. Tens of thousands of miles away, Lu Ming was sitting cross-legged, refining the energy of the 3 black panthers' blood essence. Buzz! The prison-suppressing steel's bloodline emerged and shook continuously. Its 6 golden chakras were extremely bright. Not long after, the 7th golden chakra emerged. His prison-suppressing steel bloodline had also advanced to divine level 7. Along the way, Lu Ming had killed many ferocious beasts and refined their blood essence. Now, he had finally accumulated enough to advance the prison-suppressing steel bloodline to divine level 7, which was on par with the 9 dragons' bloodline. However, Lu Ming's cultivation did not improve much. He had only reached the middle stage of the first-level spiritual god realm. After refining the energy of the 3 black panthers, the dimensional stone appeared in Lu Ming's hands. Lu Ming continuously channeled his essential core into the Na Yuan stone. When Lu Ming's essential core was almost completely depleted, the Na Yuan stone was full. Oh. Sure enough, it's similar to my previous speculation. This Yuan storage stone can only store my true essence of the first level of the spiritual god realm. If my cultivation continues to improve, this Yuan storage stone won't be of much use. Lu Ming kept the storage elemental stone and took out the rough stone to devour and recover. When Lu Ming's essential core had fully recovered, he waved his hand and a pile of storage rings appeared in the air. Most of these storage rings came from the Zhou family, as well as some from the experts he had killed previously. Lu Ming had not been able to sort them out properly before this. Now was the perfect time to do so. Lu Ming was already very familiar with sorting out the storage ring. He first categorized the items, separating the valuable items, rare items that Lu Ming did not recognize, and the rest. Lu Ming spent an entire day tidying up everything. There are only about 1 million raw gemstones left. Lu Ming sighed. The Zhou family's master, patriarch, and a few elders were all at the spiritual god realm. There were a few million raw gemstones in total. However, Lu Ming had used more than half of them to break through to the spiritual god realm. Now, he only had about 1 million left. If Lu Ming used 1 million origin stones to improve his cultivation now, he was afraid that it would not even be enough to advance to the 2nd level of the spiritual god realm. It would not be of much use. There were also a few other miscellaneous items that were not worth much. What's in this box? They're so heavily protected? Lu Ming found a box in the Zhou family head's storage ring. He did not know what material it was made of, but it was extremely hard. It was covered with runes and arrays. Lu Ming was interested in how well the Zhou family's clan master had hidden it. Lu Ming observed it carefully. Although the inscription array was advanced, Lu Ming was still able to discover its flaws and weaknesses very quickly. Dandan, come and break it. Lu Ming did not have any mental fire now, and could only be called Dandan. Simple, leave it to me. Dandan scuttled over and observed it for a moment. She waved her claws and runes entered the box. The inscriptions on the box glowed, and after a while, the inscriptions on the box trembled and collapsed. "If there are any treasures, give me a share," Dandan shouted, her eyes shining, and hurriedly opened the box. After opening the box, Dandan's face sank and revealed a look of disappointment. Because the items in the box were very simple. There were only 2 items, a small jade box and a book. They were not some kind of treasure at all. Without any natural treasures, Dandan immediately lost interest and walked to the side to gnaw on spirit herbs with a bored face. Lu Ming was somewhat interested. He picked up the book and opened it to read. After a long while, Lu Ming revealed a look of surprise. This book recorded a secret technique, the illusionary breath technique. According to the records, one could change one's aura into another aura by cultivating the illusionary aura technique. This was completely different from the previous method of concealing one's aura. Concealing one's aura was just concealing one's own aura, so that others would not be able to detect it easily. However, the illusionary breath technique transformed one's aura into another kind of aura. This was simply an escape. A top-secret art of disguise could sometimes save lives. As long as he changed his aura and appearance, no one would be able to recognize him. In the world of martial Tao, it was easy to change one's appearance, but one's aura could not be changed. Everyone's aura was unique, so this kind of secret skill was very precious. No wonder the Zhou clan's clan head had such a good collection. If I had cultivated the illusionary breath technique, I wouldn't have to be afraid of being recognized, even if I met someone I knew. A smile appeared on Lu Ming's face. He could not help but look at the jade box. If it was placed together with the illusionary breath technique, then what was in the jade box? Lu Ming opened the jade box expectantly. There was a jade tablet in the box. Lu Ming took a look and knew that it was a record jade card. He picked it up and scanned it with his mind. At first, Lu Ming was stunned. Then, he had a look of disbelief on his face. There's actually such a heaven-defying pill in this world? Lu Ming was tongue-tied and extremely shocked. This jade token contained a pill recipe, a heaven-defying pills refining method. Nirvana pill. This was a pill formula called the Nirvana pill. However, the nature-defying function of this pill left Lu Ming dumbfounded. Chapter 1053. 1053 Nirvana Pill, World City. Taking the Nirvana pill could give a warrior's bloodline a chance to undergo Nirvana. After Nirvana, one's bloodline would have a chance to upgrade. However, the upgrade level was not fixed. It depended on one's potential and luck. Some people could advance 1 level, some could advance 2 levels, and some could even advance higher. Heavens! This kind of medicinal pill was seriously too heaven-defying. It was very difficult to level up one's bloodline after birth. The bloodline of the 9 dragons was a special case. In addition, Xian Yanqing's bloodline was special. With the help of Emperor Tsong, he achieved the nirvana of his bloodline and evo-levered. Throughout his journey, Lu Ming had only seen Xian Yanqing's nirvana bloodline upgrade once. He had not seen or even heard of it. And this nirvana elixir was actually so heaven-defying. If this news were to spread, it would probably cause chaos in the world and set off endless waves. Think about it, if a martial artist with a 9th level king bloodline were to take the nirvana elixir, even if he were to advance by 1 level, he would most likely be promoted to a divine bloodline and have the qualification to break through to the spiritual god realm. For some martial artists with divine bloodlines, if they could upgrade their bloodline by 1 or 2 levels, their talent would undoubtedly be higher and they would be able to go further in the future. This was especially so for those supreme geniuses who had awakened divine level 6, 7, or even 8. If they were to consume it, they might even be able to advance to the highest divine level, level 9. Just how alluring and heaven-defying was this? It would be strange if people didn't go crazy after knowing about it. However, according to the records, every warrior only had 1 chance. After taking the nirvana pill once, the second time would have no effect. It would create resistance, but it would not reduce the value of the nirvana pill. Back then, Cold Blood Hall made a big move and said that a treasure had been taken away. Zhou Xian happened to be there, could it be? At this moment, Lu Ming thought of many things. They had met Zhou Xian in the ancient herb garden. But she did not want to work with Lu Ming. She wanted to work alone. Later on, Cold Blood Hall seemed to be looking for a treasure in the ancient herb garden, but it was taken away. It led to a large-scale operation by Cold Blood Hall. They blocked the teleportation array and even besieged them on the plane, demanding them to hand over their storage rings. There Lu Ming met Zhou Excian again and saved her. Logically speaking, Zhou Excian's cultivation level was not high. In such a situation, it was very likely that she would hand over her storage ring to save her life. However, Zhou Excian did not do so. She had no intention of handing over her storage ring. At that time, Lu Ming did not think too much about it. However, when he saw the pill formula of the Nirvana elixir, he could not help but link all of these together. Perhaps Zhou Excian had obtained this elixir recipe from the ancient medicine garden, and the reason why Cold Blood Hall had mobilized so many people was most likely to find this elixir recipe. He did not expect that it would eventually fall into Lu Ming's hands. Although the pill formula was not of much use to Lu Ming as he had the 9 Dragons bloodline and did not need the Nirvana pill to improve his bloodline, he was still very excited. To him, although it was not of much use, he had family and friends. This kind of pill formula would be of great use to his family and friends. However, the spirit herbs required to refine the Nirvana pill are too rare. Lu Ming sighed again. Although the Nirvana elixir was heaven-defying, the materials and spiritual herbs it required were extremely rare. It required dozens of spiritual herbs and materials. Most of the supplementary materials were the top grade of level 8, and 7 of the main materials were level 9. Moreover, they were the best of level 9 materials. Lu Ming was speechless. It was extremely difficult to collect these materials. Forget it. There's no rush. Take it slow. Lu Ming smiled. He memorized the pill formula of the Nirvana elixir and kept it in the mountain and river diagram. Then, he opened the secret manual of the illusionary breath technique and started reading. Chapter 1054. 1054 AO2 is suppressed. This era is truly a great era. Not only our central continent, it is said that northern plains, western desert, and southern nether are all filled with geniuses and experts. Some time ago, a heaven's favorite from northern plains entered central continent and challenged one of the top 5 young warriors, Yang Patian. That battle could be said to be a peak battle, but in the end it ended in a draw. Oh, I've also heard about that battle. It was truly shocking to think that northern plains would have a heaven's favorite at the level of the top 5 young warriors. Not only northern plains, in this period of time, western desert has sent young saint monks into central continent, displaying their unparalleled battle strength. There is also a terrifying dark child from southern nether. According to reliable sources, western desert and southern nether both have geniuses that are not weaker than the top 5 young warriors. Upon hearing this, Lu Ming raised his eyebrows and was secretly shocked. Who would have thought that southern nether, northern plains, and western desert would all have heaven's favorites at the level of the top 5 young warriors? The future was bound to be even more intense and brilliant. What about the East Continent? Are there any powerful heaven's favorites in the East Continent? Not the East Baron. The reason why it has the word barren is that it is a savage land. Since ancient times, it has been the weakest of the 5 territories. How can there be any geniuses? That's true. I heard that there are only 2 people in the East Continent who are good. One is called Lu Ming and the other is called Di Shun. They should be second-grade geniuses. The others are not good. They are just clowns who are not worth mentioning. That's true. I heard that there was a great war in the East Continent and Lu Ming was trapped. I guess he's in trouble. Now there's only one emperor god left who can be used. Haha, what's there to talk about in a savage land? Let's drink. A burst of laughter came from the surroundings. When they talked about the Eastern Barren territory, their words were full of contempt. Humph, a bunch of popinjays dare to talk about the world's heroes. Humph. At this time a cold snort sounded and spread throughout the restaurant. Everyone's gazes turned to a corner of the restaurant. There were 2 figures there, a man and a woman. The man was extremely burly and majestic, more than 2 meters tall, with bulging muscles. The woman's figure was graceful and beautiful. Her face was unparalleled, and she was devastatingly beautiful. Ao2 Fengxian. Lu Ming was stunned. He recognized the two of them. They were the two most powerful heaven's favorites of the heavenly demon valley in the East Baron. Oh, so you're considered a hero? The people they had been talking about were three young men with swords on their backs. They were all dressed in white swordsman robes and were obviously from the same force. At this moment, one of the young men with a sword on his back looked at Ao2 with a cold smile. I don't know if I'm a hero or not, but I can easily suppress you. Ao2 laughed coldly. He was extremely confident. In the Eastern Baron territory, he was second only to Lu Ming and the Emperor and deities. He was at the top and few people could defeat him. Naturally, he was confident. Even when he came to the central continent, he was still confident that he would not be weaker than others. Suppress me with a single palm? Haha, I've never seen you before. Are you from the East Continent? The young man asked. That's right, Ao2 from the East Baron. Ao2 said. Trash from the East Continent. You're just a bug, and you dare to say that you can defeat me? You're really a big shot. The young man with the sword on his back shouted coldly. What did you just say? Ao2 rose to his feet in a fit of rage, and a cold killing intent shot out from his eyes. A violent aura burst forth, and the entire restaurant was enveloped by a terrifying pressure. The sword-carrying youth actually dared to call him a reptile, which made him want to kill him. The young man sneered. He pointed his finger forward like a sword and cut through Ao2's aura. Let's go out and fight. I'll let you know if you're trash or not. This blood contains the bloodline of a true dragon. Keep it. Someone was unkind enough to collect all the blood left by Ao2, which made Ao2 roar in anger. However, he was no match for Song Fei even if he tried his best. Your flood dragon is not bad. I just happen to be lacking a mount. From now on you will be my mount. Song Fei said coldly. The sword light became even more terrifying. Chapter 1055. 1055 Chapter 1055 Myriad Image Jade Wall. Don't even think about it. Oh. Ao2 roared in rage, feeling extremely aggrieved. He, Ao2, had more than 70% of the true dragon's bloodline. He had been surrounded by halos since he was a child, and was the #1 genius of the heavenly demon valley. He was known to be able to compete with the emperor gods. There were few in the younger generation in the East Baron who could be on par with him. Although he was defeated by Lu Ming in the Battle of Providence, only Lu Ming and the Emperor God were above him in the entire East Baron. The only people who could be on par with him were Bloodsword 1 and Feng Xian. He was still a peerless genius with a brilliant halo and was high above. However, in the Central Continent, a young heaven's favorite he met casually suppressed him and even wanted to capture him as a mount. At this moment his self-confidence took a heavy blow. Whoosh! Whoosh! Beams of Asilavira swordlight cut through the sky and slashed toward Ao2. Even though Ao2 had the bloodline of a true dragon, he was still unable to defend himself. He was completely suppressed and torn apart by the terrifying sword chi. Surrender and be my mount. I won't kill you. Otherwise you'll die today. Song Fei's cold voice came from the Asilavira sword. Don't even think about it. Ao2 roared. With his pride, he would rather die than be Song Fei's mount. Then go to hell. The Asilavira combat sword bloomed with thousands of rays of light. Sword chi tore through the air as it slashed toward Ao2's head. Ao2 retreated frantically, using all his strength to defend himself. However, he was still almost beheaded, leaving a deep wound on his neck. His body shrank rapidly, and he fled into the distance. You want to leave? Stay. Song Fei obviously had no intention of letting Ao2 go. He chased after Ao2. At this moment the cry of a phoenix was heard. A divine bird that looked like a phoenix flew toward Song Fei. With a flap of its wings, flames filled the sky and spread toward Song Fei. Song Fei was shocked. Sword chi whistled and broke through the flames. However, This delay had allowed AO2 to rush into the distance and disappear without a trace. The phoenix-like divine bird had extreme speed. It flapped its wings and turned into a beam of light, flying into the distance. Song Fei shouted and chased after it, but after a while he couldn't catch up. Lu Ming could clearly see that the phoenix-like divine bird was Feng Xian. She had the blood of the phoenix and was astonishingly fast. Song Fei returned to his human form and snorted, "What, Dong Huang, the heaven's favorite? He's just a piece of trash." After saying that, he flew back into the restaurant with the other 2 disciples of the heavenly martial sword faction and continued to eat and drink. In the crowd, Blood Sword and Corpse Warrior were also watching the battle. Their faces were ugly, but they didn't dare to make a sound. Song Fei's combat strength was shocking. Blood Sword knew that he was no match for Song Fei. "I didn't expect there to be so many geniuses in the central continent. I heard that Song Fei is only the 3rd heaven's favorite of the heavenly martial sword faction." Corpse Warrior sighed. The battle just now had shocked him. The central continent is indeed the center of the divine wilderness continent. There are so many geniuses. In the entire eastern wilderness, only Lu Ming and the Emperor God duo can defeat Song Fei. Blood Sword One nodded and the 2 of them left. Lu Ming did not feel anything. He was not surprised by this result. AO2 and Song Fei were both 3rd-grade heaven's favorites, but AO2 was only in the middle. Song Fei, on the other hand, was at the top of the 3rd-grade heaven's favorites. He was close to some weaker 2nd-grade heaven's favorites. AO2 was no match for him. Lu Ming also returned to the restaurant and continued to eat and drink. Very soon he received some new information. The reason why so many talents gathered in Tianxia City was that the Tianxia Academy's Wanxiang Jade Wall would open in 3 days. The Tianxia Academy's Wanxiang Jade Wall was said to contain endless mysteries. If a warrior comprehended from it, he could obtain great opportunities and gain great benefits. There were even rumors that the Wanxiang Jade Wall contained a great secret, a divine treasure. However, it had not been opened for many years. The Tianxia Academy's Wanxiang Jade Wall had never been opened to the public before. This time, it suddenly announced to the world that it was willing to be open to the public. All the heroes in the world could freely visit and comprehend it. This news naturally attracted a large number of heaven's favorites. Wanxiang Jade Wall? Since we're here, we can't miss this. Lu Ming continued to eat and drink. The news that he heard next was not too important. He heard about which prodigies they were, how powerful they were, and which beauties were more beautiful. After finishing his meal, Lu Ming walked out of the restaurant and found an inn to stay in. 3 days passed by quickly. Lu Ming left the Tianxia city and rushed to the Tianxia Academy. He was not the only one. All the heaven's favorites stepped into the air and left. There were many of them. The sky was filled with rainbow lights like a meteor shower. Tianxia Academy was very close to Tianxia City, so they arrived not long after. Looking from afar, Lu Ming was a little shocked. A palace as white as jade was floating in the air, emitting a brilliant light. This palace was extremely huge, like a city in the sky. It seemed to be completely made of fine jade. This was the core of the Tianxia Academy. Under this palace was a misty divine mountain. The spiritual qi was rich, spiritual herbs were everywhere, and spiritual beasts were flying. It was a scene of a fairyland. The endless divine mountains below and the white jade palace above formed the complete Tianxia Academy. However, only the core of the Tianxia Academy could enter the white jade palace. Naturally, Lu Ming and the rest could not enter. They landed outside the Tianxia Academy and walked along an ancient bluestone road. Soon they saw a huge stone tablet with 4 big words written on it. Tianxia Academy. The words were bold and powerful, and at a glance there was a terrifying majesty. It was said that these 4 words were left behind by a saint emperor of the ancient Saint dynasty, and they contained the will of the saint emperor. Tens of thousands of years ago, before the ancient Saint dynasty had declined and ruled the world, the Tianxia Academy was the place where the ancient Saint dynasty had nurtured its heroes. For generations, countless powerful cultivators had emerged from the Tianxia Academy. However, after the decline of the Xie clan of the ancient Saint dynasty, the Tianxia Academy became independent and became a dominant force. Passing by the stone tablet, there was a white jade staircase. Everyone climbed up the white jade staircase and came to a huge square. At this moment, the square was already packed with people. At a glance, there were probably more than 10,000 people, all of whom were geniuses. Everyone, the Wanxiang Jade Wall is in front. Please follow me, he said. A white-haired old man appeared and smiled. Then he flew forward and everyone followed. After flying over dozens of mountain peaks, the terrain in front of them became flat. There were no mountains, only hills. On top of the hill, the clouds and mist blocked their view. Even with everyone's eyes, they could not see through it. A formation. Lu Ming's heart stirred. It was said that the Tianxia Academy was a force that cultivated both inscription and martial arts. There were strong cultivators who specialized in martial arts and strong cultivators who cultivated the way of inscription. There were even rumors that there were more than one emperor in the Tianxia Academy, but two. One was the emperor of martial arts, and the other was the emperor of inscription. Buzz, buzz, buzz. With a flash, a total of 8 old men appeared. Including the one who led the way, there were 9 in total. The 9 old men floated in the air and began to inscribe runes. One by one, the runes seeped into the surrounding space. Hoo-hoo. The wind seemed to have started blowing, and the clouds and mist began to dissipate. Soon, the clouds and mist completely dissipated, and countless people looked at the scene in front of them in shock. Chapter 1056. 1056 Chapter 1056 Enlightenment. In front of him, countless jade walls were floating in the air. Oh! At a glance, it was densely packed with jade walls. Each jade wall seemed to be made of polished white jade, smooth as a mirror. They were suspended vertically in the air, and there was no end to them. This was the Wanxiang Jade Wall, which was very different from what he had imagined. In Lu Ming's imagination, the Wanxiang Jade Wall might be a huge piece of jade wall. He did not expect there to be so many pieces. This is the Wanxiang Jade Wall. There are mysteries on it. You can study it yourself, but you can't damage the jade wall. Otherwise, the Tianxia Academy won't be polite. The old man's last sentence caused everyone's hearts to tremble. Everyone nodded and answered that they didn't dare to. Well, did you see that? In front of each jade wall, there is 1 or more jade platforms. Only by sitting cross-legged on the jade platforms can one gain enlightenment. The old man introduced. So that's what the jade platform is for. Lu Ming's heart stirred. In front of each jade wall, there was 1 to a few jade platforms suspended in the air. Lu Ming had noticed this a long time ago. It turned out that they were used for comprehension. In other words, only a few people could comprehend each piece of jade wall at the same time because the jade platform was very small and only 1 person could sit on it. Alright, you guys can comprehend it on your own. The old man nodded and left with the other 8 old men. Buzz. Whoosh. Oh. As soon as the old man left, some people flew forward in search of the jade wall to comprehend. Lu Ming swept his gaze and discovered many familiar faces. Jing Kongling, Chu Kuang, Zhang Wenjin, and Hai Ziming of the Floating Mountain Martial School were all present. In addition, he also saw Goddess Tanxiang, Yin Bupo of the Sky Eagle Castle, the Cold Blood Hall's master, the other supreme talents of the Cold Blood Hall, and Junyu of Devil Mountain. Moreover, Lu Ming saw some familiar faces from the East Continent. They were Bloodsword 1, Corpse Warrior, AO2 and Feng Xian. Emperor God. Suddenly Lu Ming's eyes moved and he saw the Emperor God. Beside the Emperor God was Dong Feng Yu. It seems that all the top heavens favorites from the East Continent are here. Lu Ming pondered and flew forward. He came to the first piece of jade and examined it carefully. Suddenly, an overbearing saber intent spread out, causing Lu Ming's expression to change slightly. There was only a jade platform in front of the jade wall, and a young man was already sitting cross-legged on it. Lu Ming continued to move forward. He realized that the feeling that each piece of jade wall gave off was different. It's really wonderful. There seems to be unique skills with artistic conceptions, but they're so mysterious. If you want to gain something, it depends on your comprehension and luck. Lu Ming strolled around casually. Many people had already found their targets and were sitting cross-legged on the jade stage. Lu Ming, the arrangement of these jade walls is very intriguing. In my opinion, there's a big secret. On his shoulder, Dandan sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. Big secret? What secret? What do you see? Lu Ming's heart stirred. There were many rumors about the Wanxiang Jade Wall in the outside world. However, the most widely accepted rumor was that the Wanxiang corn was connected to a wondrous place with a divine treasure. In ancient times, the Tianxia Academy was able to open it, but later on, that method was lost and the Tianxia Academy had not opened it for many years. It was rumored that that place was extremely wondrous. In ancient times, supreme experts would often enter seclusion to cultivate, leaving behind many relics and cave abodes of experts. This was very tempting, but it was a pity that they couldn't enter the back. I don't know. I can't figure it out in a short time. I need time, she said darkly and jumped down from Lu Ming's shoulder. She walked around on her own. Lu Ming could not be bothered with him. He searched for the jade wall alone. Before long, Lu Ming came to a jade wall. He suddenly heard a faint dragon's roar and a true dragon pounced at him. This one. In front of this jade wall, there was only a jade platform. No one had come yet. Lu Ming flew up and sat cross-legged on the jade platform, closing his eyes to comprehend. Roar! A dragon's roar was heard. Lu Ming seemed to see a real dragon walking in the void. The dragon's might was vast and mighty for tens of thousands of miles, causing the void to collapse and the earth to sink. It seems like every move of his contains unparalleled combat power. Is this a true dragon combat technique? No, I don't think so. Lu Ming's mind was racing. He felt that the battle dragon's every move was like a battle technique, but it also seemed like it wasn't. It was hard to grasp and capture. Lu Ming tried to understand it, but he gained nothing in the end. No, why should I learn any combat skills from it? I can compare it with my 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and he began to comprehend. As a result, he felt that he had gained a lot. His understanding of the 9 dragons' heaven treading steps had increased rapidly, and he had made great progress. He had already cultivated the 9 dragons' heaven treading steps to the 7th step. At this step, it was even more difficult to cultivate. Every step was extremely difficult. If one did not have the right opportunity, they might not be able to cultivate it successfully in their entire lives. Every bit of improvement was precious. Lu Ming had been sitting cross-legged for 3 days. After feeling that he could not gain anything more, he got up and left in search of the next piece. In the sky, in the huge white jade palace, a few elders were discussing some matters. Sect Master, will this really work? One of them asked. That's the only way. The Saint Mansion hasn't been opened for many years. This time the great era is coming, and the geniuses are gathering. Everyone has great opportunities. Perhaps this is an opportunity, and someone may be able to open the secret realm of the Saint Mansion. A white-haired old man with a sage-like appearance said. I hope so. The others sighed. Lu Ming continued to look at a few more jade walls, but none of them were suitable for him. After looking at more than 10 jade walls, Lu Ming finally found a suitable one. Dragon roars were still coming from this piece of jade. Lu Ming sat cross-legged on the jade platform. Just like the previous piece of jade, there was a real dragon rolling in the void. However, the difference this time was that there were 2 true dragons. The 2 true dragons were engaged in a fierce battle. Their roars shook the heavens and the battle was tragic. This is a true dragon combat technique. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The 2 true dragons fought each other. Their dragon claws grabbed out and their dragon might lashed out. The dragons soared into the sky, and each of their movements was filled with killing power. It was clearly a powerful true dragon combat technique. This combat technique is comparable to a god-level technique. It's very useful to me. Lu Ming revealed a look of excitement. After he used the bloodline fusion, he transformed into the 9 dragons. Usually, he would only use the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps and then use the prison-suppressing heavenly art. Other than that, the 9 dragons would rely on brute force to fight and lacked killing techniques. If he had this true dragon combat technique, he would definitely be stronger when he transformed into the 9 dragons. Lu Ming carefully observed the battle between the 2 true dragons. He sat there for 10 days. After watching the battle between the 2 true dragons at all times, Lu Ming's understanding of true dragon combat techniques had already reached a rather high level. Get lost, this piece of jade is mine. Suddenly a cold shout was heard, causing many people to turn their heads to look. Bloodsword 1 and Huang Kuei. Lu Ming's heart stirred. In front of a jade wall, Xue Jianyi sat cross-legged on a jade platform. Huang Kuei coldly looked at him. He was the one who had told Xue Jianyi to get lost. Brother, I came here first. Xue Jianyi frowned. So what if you came first? He's just a country bumpkin from the East Continent. What right do you have to study on the Myriad form jade wall? Get out of here. Huang Kuei coldly shouted. Each claw ray was terrifyingly sharp and emanated a scorching aura. They had the terrifying power of burning and corrosion. Huang Kuei's cultivation was also at the great circle of the spirit embryo realm. Bang! 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 The blood-red claw radiance and the sword chi that filled the sky collided with each other, causing the air to shake continuously. The blood-red light soared into the sky, and the sword chi surged. The blood-colored claw radiance and the blood-colored sword chi were neutralizing each other. For a moment they were evenly matched. Huang Kuei's expression was unsightly and extremely dark. He couldn't even take down a country bumpkin from the East Continent, which made him feel very embarrassed. Kill! The bloodthirsty's whirled. Huang Kuei roared as he unleashed his bloodthirst technique, causing a blood-red barrier to envelop Xue Jianyi. Blood Sword 1's expression changed when he was enveloped by the bloodthirsty technique. He felt the blood in his body boiling as if a powerful force was trying to pull his blood. Swish! Xue Jianyi quickly retreated, trying to escape the range of the bloodthirsty technique, but Huang Kuei was holding him back so tightly that he couldn't escape from Huang Kuei's attacks. Helplessly, Bloodsword 1 could only use bloodline fusion to form a blood-red sword. However, Huang Kuei also used bloodline fusion to form a blood-red claw. The blood claw and the blood sword collided, and the blood sword flew back at an extreme speed. Under the influence of the bloodthirsty technique, Blood Sword was at a disadvantage. He was no match for the blood claw. Bang! 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 After a series of clashes, Huang Kuei gradually gained the upper hand and suppressed Blood Sword 1. After a few dozen moves, the blood-red sword collapsed. Blood Sword 1 spat out a mouthful of blood and his face turned pale. Xue Jianyi had lost. He was no match for Huang Kuei. With a flash of light, the blood claw transformed back into Huang Kuei. He looked at Blood Sword in disdain and sneered, "I've told you, a country bumpkin like you is not qualified to cultivate on the Wanxiang Jade Wall." Xue Jianyi's expression was ugly, but he didn't say anything. He had lost. What could a loser say? I heard that you used to rank second on the list of top 1,000 talents in the East Baron. It seems that the East Baron is really not good enough. If the second is so weak, then the first will not be any better. I heard that the first is called the Emperor God. I think he must be here today. Ask him to come out. I'll take care of him today. Then, you people of the East Baron will pack up and go back to the East Baron. Huang Kuei was extremely arrogant. Today, he was going to trample on the people of the East Continent and make himself more famous. You're looking for me? A cold voice rang out, and a figure stepped out. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. That was the Emperor God. You are the Emperor God? Huang Kuei looked at the Emperor God. Not bad. The Emperor God nodded. His eyes were calm and his voice was cold. You've come at the right time. Make your move. I'll take care of you too. Huang Kuei sneered. Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, a terrible sword power rose from the Emperor God. The sword chi was as high as the sky and emitted supreme pressure. Facing this pressure, Huang Kuei's expression changed drastically as cold sweat poured down his back. Spiritual God. You're in the spiritual god realm. Huang Kuei shouted in shock. Buzz. The sword hummed as the sword chi slashed down toward Huang Kuei. No. Huang Kuei retreated in shock and used his bloodline fusion to block with all his strength. However, it was all for naught. The sword chi slashed past and the blood claw exploded. Huang Kuei's body smashed into the ground like a cannonball, creating a huge crater. He lay in the crater and coughed out blood continuously. The crowd was silent for a moment, then burst into an uproar. This person is so strong. He defeated Huang Kuei in one move. He must be a spiritual god realm expert. I can't believe there's such a genius in the East Baron. His name is Di Shen. Before the Battle of Providence, he ranked first on the list of top 1,000 talents in the East Baron. Later, he was defeated by a man named Lu Ming in the Battle of Providence and is now second. What? Is there anyone stronger than him in the East Baron? The sound of discussion spread out, somewhat in disbelief. Chapter 1058. 1058 The battle between the spiritual god prodigies. The Emperor God didn't even look at Huang Kuei. He turned around and headed for the Myriad Jade Wall. Oh, you want to leave after beating up my Cold Blood Hall people? A cold voice was heard. A young man in a blood-red robe appeared in the air and blocked Di Shen's way. It's Blood Luo Zi. Someone exclaimed. Shui Luo Zi is about to attack. Even more people's eyes lit up. Some time ago they heard that Shui Luo Zi had entered the spiritual god realm, and so had the supreme god realm. The two spiritual god realm Heaven's Pride experts were about to fight, which made many people's eyes light up. There was no reason for this. The Emperor God was definitely a second-class Heaven's favorite, since he could break through to the spiritual god realm at this age. It was rare for two second-class Heaven's favorites to fight. You want to make a move? Then let's do it. I also want to see what's so special about the Central Continent's Heaven's Pride experts. The Emperor God said calmly, but his tone was full of confidence. Now that he had made a major breakthrough in his space mentality, he was confident that he would not be weaker than anyone. Even if he were to face Lu Ming again, he was 100% confident that he could defeat Lu Ming. Then I'll fulfill your wish. Shui Luo Zi's eyes were cold, and his body was filled with a shocking blood light. Buzz, buzz, whoosh. Oh! At this moment, many figures appeared in the sky, all of them dragons and phoenixes among men. Jing Kongling Goddess Tanxiang Junyu In Bupo Kong Xian. Some people recognized them. They were all second-grade Heaven's favorites, and there were more than 10 of them. This made people's hearts tremble. Other than the Battle of Providence, this was the largest gathering of second-class geniuses. Obviously, the battle between Shui Luo Zi and the Emperor God had attracted them. Boom! Boom! Shui Luo Zi and the Emperor God released a terrifying aura at the same time. A saber radiance shot up from Shui Luo Zi's body, while a sword radiance shot up from the Emperor God's body. The saber ray and the sword ray clashed with each other, and their power was extremely terrifying. Buzz! The sword ray and the saber ray met in the air, causing a deafening boom. At this moment, Shui Luo Zi and the Emperor God moved at the same time. Blood Sky Blade. Tiangang Emperor Sword. As soon as they made their move, the two of them used low-grade divine-level martial techniques. At their level, there was no need for any probing. The moment they made their move, they would use their killing move. They had to carry out an incomparably terrifying killing move. Boom! The saber and the sword collided, and the saber radiance and sword chi overflowed, cutting the space into two holoviers. One side was a world of blades and the other was a world of swords. The two of them retreated at the same time and then clashed again. Boom! 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 In just a few breaths, the two of them had already exchanged dozens of moves. The sky was constantly torn apart with spatial cracks. The deep spatial cracks seemed to be able to suck people's minds in. It was extremely terrifying. Many people kept retreating, not daring to stand too close. It was because their combat strength was too strong, far exceeding that of an ordinary first-level spiritual god realm. Even the chi that leaked out could kill an ordinary first-level spiritual god realm expert. One could imagine how terrifying it was. Only a dozen or so people could stand at the front and watch the battle. They were all heaven's favorites on the same level as Blood Luo. Emperor God's combat strength has made a major breakthrough. It's even more unfathomable. Lu Ming did not fly high into the sky. He remained seated on the jade platform in front of the jade wall, looking up. He felt that the Emperor God had not used his full strength at all. The Bloodthirsty's world. Shueluozi used the Bloodthirsty world, but it was useless. The Emperor God's sword split it. Shueluozi's face turned serious. He had lost his confidence since the beginning of the battle. How can he be so strong? The Emperor God is only ranked second in the East Continent. How could there be such a master in the East Continent? Shueluozi's mind raced. In the end, he used bloodline fusion and turned into a blood-red bat. After performing the bloodline fusion, Blood Luozi let out a cry and released a terrifying sound wave attack. At the same time, he flapped his wings and charged at the Emperor God like a blood-red lightning. However, the Emperor God stood there motionlessly. You actually didn't dodge, go to hell. Shueluozi's eyes were filled with killing intent. He rushed toward the Emperor God, but when he reached the Emperor God, he felt that something was wrong. It was just a shadow, not a real body. At this moment, the surrounding people saw the Emperor God suddenly appear behind Shueluozi and slash out with his sword. This is the space mentality? Many people's pupils contracted sharply, revealing a look of disbelief. Not good. Shueluozi sensed the danger and dodged it with a flap of his wings. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At this moment, the Emperor God stepped in the air, his body flashing in the air. He was extremely fast and rushed toward Shueluozi. Instant step. However, compared to the Battle of Providence, the Emperor God's instant step was much stronger and extremely fast. In a flash, he could cover several miles, which was unpredictable. The space mentality, it really is the space mentality. This time, even more people could see it, and some people exclaimed, "My God, it really is the space mentality. How is it possible? I can't believe someone in the East Continent has comprehended the will of space. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yang Padian, one of the top 5 young warriors, has comprehended the space mentality. I didn't expect that someone in the East Continent had also comprehended the space mentality." Cries of disbelief came from the surroundings. Time and space were kings, and the concept of space was too strong. It was not just empty talk. Even Jing Kongling and the other second-grade heavens favorites had a serious look in their eyes. In their hearts, they had already regarded the Emperor God as an extremely terrifying opponent. Space mentality, it's actually the space mentality. Then I'll break your space mentality. Shueluozi roared, and the blood-winged bat opened its mouth and whistled. A terrifying sound wave burst out. Wherever the sound wave passed, the space would ripple like water and finally split open, forming deep spatial cracks. The Emperor God frowned, and his aura grew stronger as he slashed out. This sword contained 3 concepts: sword concept, golden flame concept, and space concept. This sword moved the space and formed a huge space crack. The sword light was unstoppable as it slashed towards Shueluozi. Shueluozi shouted. Bloodlight filled the air. The blood-winged sky bat's wings were like blades as it struck out with its strongest attack. Boom! The heavens and earth trembled violently as boundless light swept through the sky. A pillar of light shot up into the sky, scattering the clouds in the sky. It was as if a hole had been punched in the sky. Bang! A figure retreated quickly. It was the blood-winged sky bat. As the blood-winged sky bat retreated, it transformed back into its human form. However, there was a trace of blood at the corner of its mouth. Blood Luozi was injured. Do you still want to fight? The Emperor God's long hair fluttered in the wind. He stared at Blood Luozi with lightning-like eyes, as if he was invincible. Let's stop here today. We'll fight another day. Shueluozi's expression was ugly. He snorted and then flashed away. Blood Luozi left just like that. Everyone knew that Blood Luozi had been defeated by the Emperor God. After everyone was stunned for a moment, they burst into an uproar. Chapter 1059. 1059 Tianqiu Cave, Marrow Cleansing Pool. The proud Emperor God from the East Continent had defeated Shui Luozi, which was shocking. Oh, this Emperor God is so powerful. He didn't even activate his bloodline. I didn't expect there to be such a powerful figure in the East Baron. I've heard that the Emperor God is a direct descendant of a martial emperor in the East Continent. He is very talented and is ranked second in the East Continent. What? Emperor gods could only be ranked second in the East Continent? I thought he was the number one heaven's favorite in the East Baron. Then who's first? The one in first place is called Lu Ming. It's amazing. Di Shen is so powerful, but Lu Ming can suppress him. What kind of genius is he? It seems that this generation is indeed a great era. Even the East Continent has risen and given birth to geniuses like Lu Ming and the Emperor God. Many people sighed and marveled at the power of the Emperor God. They were also curious about how handsome Lu Ming was, who could suppress the Emperor God. This Blood Luo is really unlucky. He has lost a few rounds in the past year. A year ago, he was defeated by a sovereign called Lu Shaoqing. Now, he's defeated by an Emperor God. This is how geniuses fight for hegemony. The weak will sooner or later become the stepping stones of the stronger. Some people who had a grudge with Cold Blood Hall deliberately dug out the secrets of Cold Blood Hall. It seems like I'll have another strong opponent in the future, Demon Mountain Junue said. His eyes filled with a strong fighting spirit. This person is indeed terrifying. Bupo nodded. His combat strength was almost the same as Shui Luozi's, so he was probably no match for an Emperor God. Tianxia Academy has released news that Tianqiu Cave is open. Anyone who passes can enter the Marrow Cleansing Pool once. Suddenly, a piece of news came and caused an uproar. What? The Tianqiu Cave is open, and those who have passed can enter the Marrow Cleansing Pool. Is this for real? It's true. It's absolutely true. This news was passed down by the headmaster of Tianxia Academy. Heavens, it's great that I can enter the Marrow Cleansing Pool. I want to try it too. You? Stop dreaming. Everyone in the world knows that the Tianqiu Cave of Tianxia Academy is frighteningly difficult. Only a few people have ever passed it. You won't know if you don't try. I heard that Tianqiu Cave doesn't look at strength. Everyone who enters Tianqiu Cave will face a different situation. There was even a martial king who managed to break through Tianqiu Cave. That's true, let's go and try. After a heated discussion, countless people flew in one direction. Tianqiu Cave? Marrow Cleansing Pool? I didn't expect that the Tianxia Academy would actually open the Marrow Cleansing Pool. I can fight for it. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. Tianxia Academy's Marrow Cleansing Pool was famous all over the world. Entering the Marrow Cleansing Pool could allow a warrior's body to transform, complete sublimation, and finally reach perfection. One of the most important conditions to break through to the martial emperor realm was that one's physical body had to reach the complete 9th grade. However, after the body reached level 9, it was actually very difficult to reach perfection. There would be a threshold that was not easy to cross. However, in the Marrow Cleansing Pool, the body could be perfected, and the first foundation to break through to the martial emperor realm could be laid. This moved many of the heaven's favorites who wanted to become emperors. For example, Jing Kongling, Junyu, etc. Even those heaven's favorites who knew that they had no chance of breaking through to the martial emperor realm were tempted. Who wouldn't want to have a stronger body? Lu Ming was also tempted because his physical body had reached the 9th grade. If he could cultivate his physical body to perfection in the Marrow Cleansing Pool, he would have fewer things to do in the future. Lu Ming also got off the jade platform and followed the crowd in a certain direction. Soon they arrived at a huge mountain peak. This mountain was extremely huge, and the bottom of the mountain was at least 100 miles wide. At the foot of the mountain there was a huge cave. It was the Tiangang Cave. From this side of the Tianshu cave to the other side of the mountain it was 100 miles long. As long as one passed through the Tianshu cave from this side and came out from the other side, they would be considered to have passed the Tianshu cave and would be able to obtain a quota to enter the marrow cleansing pool. However, the Tianshu cave was extremely mysterious. It was said that everyone who entered would encounter different things. Since ancient times there were very few people who could pass through it, and it was extremely wonderful. I'll try. A young man rushed into the Tianshu cave, but not long after, a light flashed outside the Tianshu cave, and he was transported out. He returned to the crowd dejectedly. What's going on? What did you encounter? Someone asked. As soon as I entered, I met a powerful fierce beast. It severely injured me with one slap, so I was teleported out. Fortunately, the injury was fake, and I recovered as soon as I came out. The man replied. I'll try. Another person rushed in, but after a while, he was also teleported out. Someone asked him, and he said that he had encountered a sword and cut him down. Everyone looked at each other. Sure enough, everyone encountered a different situation when they entered. It was impossible to know what flaws, weaknesses, and rules there were. Following that, the paragons entered the Tianshu cave one after another, but all of them failed. Not a single one succeeded. Junyu and the other heaven's favorites didn't move. Instead, they stood in the air and watched quietly. Lu Ming did not move. He was not in a hurry and let the others go first. In the end, Lu Ming closed his eyes and tried to comprehend the essence realm of heaven and earth. For 10 consecutive days, countless people went in, but not a single one succeeded. They all failed and all of them were dejected. Chu Kuang, Zhang Wenjin, and the other third-grade heaven's favorites also entered, but they all failed. In Bupo has gone in. Someone called out and many people were shocked. Finally, a second-grade heaven's favorite made his move. In Bupo went in for a very long time. Half an hour had passed and he still hadn't come out. Don't tell me that In Bupo can make it through. Someone guessed. It was very possible that he had not come out after half an hour. It was possible for him to make it through. Second-grade geniuses were indeed different. Some people simply went to the other side of the mountain peak to wait, to see if In Bupo would come out from the Tianshu cave's exit. However, at this moment, a light flashed at the entrance of Tianshu cave, and In Bupo was also transported out. AI. In Bupo sighed. He had also failed. This Tiangang cave is too difficult. Even a second-grade heaven's favorite can't pass it. It's indeed too difficult. I wonder if the top 5 young warriors can make it through. Many people sighed. Buzz. A blood-red light rushed in. It's Blood Luozi. Someone recognized it. Apparently, Shui Luozi had recovered from his injuries. He also appeared here, planning to explore the Tiangang cave. Unfortunately, just like In Bupo, he was also teleported out after half an hour and failed. Next, Junyu Goddess Tanxiang and the others tried, but they all failed. Wu Chengkong has gone in. Someone muttered. A white-robed young man with a long sword on his back stepped into Tiangang cave. Wu Chengkong was the #1 genius of the Tianwu sword faction. This was an extremely terrifying and powerful figure, who was extremely famous in the central continent. There were strong and weak second-grade heaven's favorites, and Wu Chengkong was undoubtedly the most powerful one. He was known as one of the strongest people under the 5 young giants. Everyone watched quietly, wondering if Wu Chengkong could make it through the Tiangang cave. Chapter 1060. 1060 Chapter 1060 Yang Patian. It had been almost an hour since Wu Chengkong entered, but he still failed and was teleported out. Oh, even Wu Chengkong failed. Can we even pass the Tiangang cave? That's right, this is too difficult. It can't be that he can't even pass the 5 giants, right? That's not necessarily true. Tianshu cave doesn't test pure combat power. Many people around sighed. Even Wu Chengkong could not pass it. It was too difficult. Wu Chengkong carried his sword and flew to the side. He sat in the air looking calm. I'll try. The pure spatial spirit's body was surrounded by clouds and mist, as he stepped into the sky and entered the rising sky cave. However, no one thought highly of the pure spirit. Even Wu Changkong failed, so no one thought that the pure spirit could pass. However, after nearly an hour, a cry of surprise came from the exit of Tianqiu Cave. "It's a success, the pure spatial spirit has succeeded." The exclamations rose and fell. What? The pure spatial spirit had succeeded? Let's go take a look. Immediately, the figures flew to the other side of the mountain. Even Goddess Tanxiang, Junyu, Wu Changkong, and the others could not help but fly to the other side of the mountain. When he flew over, he saw Qing Junling standing in the air. The pure void spirit had actually passed through the Tiangang cave. Buzz! Buzz! At this time, two beams of light flew down from the white jade palace in the sky and turned into two white-robed elders. They were the two elders of the Tianxia Academy. Haha, Miss Jing Kongling. Congratulations on obtaining a spot to enter the marrow cleansing pool. Here's a token for you. The marrow cleansing pool will be opened in half a month. You can use this token to enter the pool. An elder laughed as he took out a token and passed it to Jing Kongling. Many thanks, senior. Jing Kongling thanked him and took the token. Countless people looked at Jing Kongling with envy. This was the token that allowed one to enter the marrow cleansing pool. In Bupo, Master Shui Luo, Junyu, and the others were even more envious. They were all people who had the ambition to become emperors, and the marrow cleansing pool could save them a lot of time. Wu Chengkong's eyes were filled with fire as he looked at Jing Kongling with possessiveness. Everyone knew that Wu Chengkong was a pursuer of Jing Kongling, but Jing Kongling did not seem to be interested in him. Sister Kongling, congratulations. Goddess Tanxiang smiled and walked towards Jing Kongling to congratulate him. Fairy Tanxiang didn't feel much about the marrow cleansing pool. She cultivated the Tao of inscriptions, so the strength of her physical body didn't matter much. The pure spatial spirit was also quite happy. First, she didn't expect to pass. Then, everyone returned to the entrance of the Tianqiu cave. A tall and straight figure stepped in. It's him, Dishan. Many people's eyes moved. After defeating Blood Luozi last time, Dishan's fame had increased, and he had attracted a lot of attention. Many people were watching and guessing whether the Emperor God could pass through the Tiangang cave. It shouldn't be possible to pass. The pure spatial spirit is a special case. I really don't know what conditions are required to pass the Tianqiu cave. It's too difficult to pass through the Tianqiu cave. According to this ratio, there are less than 10 people in the world who can pass through it. Indeed, the Tianxia Academy had long known that not many could pass, so they opened the marrow cleansing pool. Otherwise, if anyone could pass, the Tianxia Academy would have suffered a great loss. Some people were chatting and waiting. Suddenly, he passed. The Emperor God passed. Another cry of surprise rang out. What? You passed? How is that possible? A group of people was shocked and hurriedly flew over to take a look. As expected, they saw the Emperor God's figure at the exit of Tianqiu Cave. The Emperor God had really passed through the Tiangang Cave. This Emperor God is amazing. Some people sighed and began to re-examine the Emperor Gods. The Emperor God had first defeated Blood Luozi, and now he had passed through Tianqiu Cave. It was amazing. Naturally, many people thought of the name Lu Ming. Anyone who knew about the East Baron's proud sons of heaven knew that the number one in the East Baron was Lu Ming, not the Emperor God. Even Wu Chengkong's eyes shot out two beams of sword light as he stared at Di Shun. No wonder he's the Emperor God, the strongest junior of Di. In the crowd, Lu Ming's lips curled up slightly. The Emperor God was indeed very powerful and had amazing talent. He had comprehended 3 kinds of intent realms and even had a terrifying intent realm like Space Intent Realm. In the War of Providence, Lu Ming had relied on the combination of the Tao of Inscription to barely suppress the Emperor Gods. In Lu Ming's heart, he had never underestimated the Emperor Gods. Now more than a year and a half had passed, and the Emperor God had become even more terrifying. The 2 old men flew down from the White Jade Palace above and looked at the Emperor God in surprise. Another person passed, and it was indeed beyond the expectations of the Tianxia Academy. Young Master Dishan, please take this token. You can enter the marrow cleansing pool to cultivate with it. An old man gave the Emperor God a token. The Emperor God took it and thanked the old man. Young Patian has come. Suddenly, a cry of surprise came from the front. What? Young Patian, one of the 5 magnates, has arrived. The crowd exclaimed in shock. Then they all charged forward. In the air, a young man stepped through the air. This young man had his hands behind his back and his hair was loose. He was tall and burly, and his eyes were bright and full of wildness. Step by step, he walked very slowly, but he exuded a supreme majesty. Everyone felt a huge pressure on their hearts. Wu Chengkong, Junyu, and the other heaven's favorites looked serious. The Emperor God's eyes were filled with fighting intent. Young Patian, like the Emperor God, had also cultivated space intent. So this is Young Patian, one of the top 5 young warriors. Lu Ming's eyes were bright as he stared at Young Patian. Young Patian gave him a very strong pressure. He had a feeling that this person was very strong and very dangerous. Young Patian stepped on the air and walked into the Tianshu cave without looking at the crowd. He then disappeared. Let's go to the exit. Young Patian should be able to pass through the Tiangang cave. Many people flew towards the exit of Tianshu cave. Even the 2 elders from Tianxia Academy didn't leave. Instead, they waited at the exit. Half an hour later, a tall figure stepped out of the Tianshu cave's exit. Young Patian. He had indeed passed through the Tiangang cave. Amazing, amazing. The 5 magnates should all be able to pass through the Tiangang cave. That's right. The 5 magnates are too terrifying. In the past, they were all heaven's favorites that only appeared once in 1,000 years. But now, there are 5 of them in this generation. Many people sighed. The 5 magnates were the pinnacle of all heaven's favorites in the central continent. The ultimate goal of all the young people was really powerful. It was a sure thing that they would become supreme martial artists. In the future, it was also very likely that they would break through to the emperor realm. It could be said that they were all young emperors. I should also try. Lu Ming smiled. He came to the entrance and stepped in. Lu Ming did not attract much attention when he stepped into the Tianshu cave. Even if some people saw Lu Ming entering, they only regarded him as a small fry and did not take him seriously at all. Chapter 1061. 1061 Lu Ming passed. After Yang Patian received the token from the World Book Academy's elder, many people returned to the entrance of Tianshu cave. Oh! After Yang Patian put away the token, he directly stepped into the air and left, as if there was nothing worth his attention here. Someone else went in. Who was it? I wanted to go in and give it a try. I don't know. I don't know him. He's just a small fry. I think he'll be out in less than 2 minutes. What an exciting day. 3 people passed the Tiangang cave in a row. Yeah, but the strongest group of people have already entered. There shouldn't be anyone else who will pass. Many people were chatting casually, planning to wait for Lu Ming to fail and be teleported out. However, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes had passed and Lu Ming still had not come out. Nest, that guy can actually hold on for so long. Strange. Let's wait a little longer. Maybe he'll come out in a while. However, Lu Ming still did not come out after waiting for a long time. They could not help but look at each other. As soon as Lu Ming stepped into the Tianshu cave, the surrounding environment changed. He came to a platform. A formation. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This Tiangang cave had an extremely powerful formation. No, my cultivation. At this moment, Lu Ming was shocked to find that his cultivation level was dropping rapidly. From the spiritual god realm to the spirit embryo realm, then to the spirit ocean, then to the king realm, and then to the grandmaster realm. In the end, Lu Ming's cultivation level dropped to 9th grade warrior realm before it stopped. His domain, 2nd and 3rd bloodlines were all sealed. Only the bloodline of the 9 dragons had not been sealed. The combat strength he could exert was actually similar to when he was in 9th grade warrior realm. There was a long spear stuck in the ground beside Lu Ming. In front of the platform, a figure condensed. It was a middle-aged man with a long sword on his back. Judging from his aura, he was at the One-Dan Master realm. That long spear is a weapon for you. If you can defeat me, you will be able to move on to the next stage, the middle-aged man said coldly. Then he unsheathed his sword. A sharp sword light cut through the air, making an ear-piercing whistling sound, and slashed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming pulled out the long spear beside him. He shook the long spear and cast the fire gun technique. Whoosh! The long spear turned into a rainbow light and arrived first. It pierced through the middle of the middle-aged man's eyebrows and killed him. The middle-aged man's figure collapsed and disappeared without a trace. Is this a test of my combat strength when I'm in 9th grade warrior realm? Lu Ming guessed in his heart. In the next moment, 3 figures appeared in front of the platform. They were 3 middle-aged men with the same cultivation and were all at the 1st grade master realm. The 3 of them unsheathed their swords at the same time and charged at Lu Ming. He shook his long spear and fought with the 3 middle-aged men. In a short while, he had killed the 3 men. When Lu Ming was in the 9th grade warrior realm, it was not difficult for him to kill a 1st grade master realm martial artist. After killing the 3 of them, the surroundings changed again. Lu Ming appeared on another platform. My cultivation has reached the 9th grade master realm. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He realized that his cultivation had reached the 9th grade master realm. Another middle-aged man appeared in front of him. He looked the same as the previous man, but his cultivation was completely different. The aura that this middle-aged man was emitting was clearly at the 1st grade Great Martial Master realm. As expected, it was testing Lu Ming's combat ability at each stage. There was nothing much to say. The 2 of them started fighting and Lu Ming killed the middle-aged man in one move. In the next moment, 3 1st grade Great Martial Master middle-aged men appeared. They were also killed by Lu Ming. After that, Lu Ming's cultivation rose to the 9th grade Grandmaster realm, while the opponent he faced was a 1st grade martial arts Grandmaster. The result was the same. Lu Ming overcame all difficulties and passed this round. In the next round, Lu Ming's cultivation was at the Half-Step King realm, and his opponent was at the 1st level of the Martial King realm. At this time, Lu Ming discovered that he could use the power of his 2nd bloodline, but it could only exert the power of a half-step king. Lu Ming spent some time in this battle. This was because the further one advanced, the more difficult it was to cross realms and fight. However, Lu Ming still managed to clear it. Then, Lu Ming's cultivation level rose to peak tier king, while his opponent became at the 1st level of the spiritual ocean tier. This battle took even more time, but he still made it through. After that, it was the Great Circle of the Spirit Sea realm and the 1st level of the Spirit Embryo realm. Also passed. However, when Lu Ming's cultivation level rose to the Great Circle of the Spirit Embryo realm, and he fought against the 1st level of the Spiritual God realm, he finally met with a real challenge. In the beginning, when he was facing a 1st level Spiritual God, Lu Ming could still be more relaxed and kill him in the end. However, he encountered a huge challenge when he fought against the 3 1st level Spiritual God realm experts. Lu Ming did his best to fight against 3 1st level Spiritual God realm experts. This battle lasted for half an hour. Lu Ming finally managed to kill the 3 1st level Spiritual God realm experts with great difficulty. He was also severely injured. This is too difficult. If it's this difficult, how did the pure spatial spirit pass? How did the Emperor God pass? Lu Ming was speechless. It was hard to say for Yang Padian, but Lu Ming was certain that it was impossible for the pure space spirit and the Emperor God to kill 3 1st level Spiritual God realm experts when they were at the perfected Spirit Embryo realm. Everyone faces a different situation in Tianqiu Cave. Could it be that I'm unlucky and have encountered a difficult one? Lu Ming was somewhat speechless. At this moment, the surrounding environment changed. Lu Ming discovered that there was a cave in front of him and bright light was shining from the cave. Lu Ming had passed through the Tianqiu Cave's exit. At this moment, Lu Ming realized that his cultivation had recovered to the 1st level of the Spiritual God realm, and the injuries he had suffered earlier had also healed. Without any hesitation, he took a step forward. As soon as he went out, He saw some people outside the cave staring at him with wide eyes, their faces full of disbelief. There were undoubtedly more people guarding the entrance of the Tianshu cave, but at this time, some people were already impatient. Who is it? Why didn't he come out after so long? I've been waiting for an hour. Yeah, who went in just now? Could he be another second-grade heaven's favorite? I didn't see it just now. No, I've never seen that person before. I don't know him. You don't know him? He's just a small fish and he was able to go in for so long. Could it be that he'll pass? Impossible, it's impossible to pass. At this moment, a cry of disbelief came from the direction of the Tianshu cave's exit. Passed. Someone else passed. Who is he? Why haven't I seen him before? The voice was clearly transmitted over, causing the people at the entrance of Tianshu cave to be dumbfounded and look at each other. He actually passed? Who was it? Let's go and take a look. Almost everyone flew toward the Tianshu cave's exit. They were all surprised to see Lu Ming. This was because no one really knew who he was. They had never seen him before. Lu Ming looked around with a bitter smile, a simple and honest smile on his tan face. Are they from the East Continent? Someone asked the Divine Emperor. No, I've never seen him before. The Emperor God shook his head. He is also not from our northern plains. The ones who spoke were a few burly young men who were carrying maces and axes on their backs and seemed to be mad. These were the heaven's favorites from northern plains. Chapter 1062. 1062. It would be a waste to give it to you. He is not from Eastern Barren Territory or Northern Plains. He is definitely not from Western Desert. Could he be a heaven's favorite from Southern Nether? Oh, impossible. No one from the Southern Underworld has come here. The crowd around them continued to discuss and guess Lu Ming's identity. However, they could not guess that no one knew Lu Ming. The Tianshu cave is very mysterious. It doesn't necessarily mean that only the strongest heaven's favorites can pass through it. Some ordinary geniuses can pass through it if they are lucky, someone said. As soon as he said this, the crowd's eyes were filled with different expressions. Some people looked at Lu Ming with a burning gaze. Buzz, buzz. Two white-haired elders descended from the sky. They were the two elders of the Tianxia Academy. The two elders were also very surprised to see Lu Ming. They had thought that after Yongpadian, no one would be able to clear the Tiangang cave. They did not expect that someone would be able to. Young friend, take this token. In half a month the marrow cleansing pool will open. You can use this token to enter the pool. An elder took out a token and passed it to Lu Ming. Many thanks, senior. Lu Ming took the token and thanked him with cupped fists. The two old men smiled and turned to leave. Many people looked at the token in Lu Ming's hand with burning eyes. Among them Wu Chengkong, Shui Luozi, and the other second-grade geniuses were the most excited. Excuse me, please. Lu Ming put away the token and smiled. He squeezed out of the crowd and walked toward the Wanxiang Jade Wall. He was no longer interested in who would challenge the Tianshu cave next. In the crowd, Blood Luozi's gaze was fixed on Lu Ming's back. Dandan, how's the research going? When he came to the Wanxiang Jade, he found that Dandan was still walking around and observing seriously. There's already some progress. Little brat, don't disturb this lord. After a while, this lord will definitely give you a big surprise. After saying that, he ignored Lu Ming and continued his research. This guy. Lu Ming smiled and ignored her. He looked for a suitable jade wall and continued to comprehend. The Myriad image jade wall was all-encompassing and could really find anything. Before long, Lu Ming found an extremely mysterious jade wall. In front of this jade wall, Lu Ming could comprehend the profound principles of the concept of fire. Lu Ming studied it carefully. With his current level of comprehension, he had gained a lot. In just a few days, Lu Ming's concept of fire had gained a lot. He felt that he could make a breakthrough at any time and reach the lower tier of level 4. Lu Ming was overjoyed and continued to comprehend. After another 3 days, Lu Ming's concept of fire really broke through in one go, and reached level 4 lower tier. This trip to the Tianxia Academy was worth it. He had gained a lot. Young hero, my young master would like to see you. At this moment, a young lady walked to Lu Ming's side with a sweet smile. Who is your young master? Lu Ming frowned slightly. Young master will know when you get there. It's on that mountain peak not far away. The woman pointed to a mountain peak in the east. All right, I'll go with you. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and followed the young woman, flying toward the mountain peak. The mountain was only 100 miles away from the Wanxiang Jade Wall. There were 2 figures on the mountain peak. One of them was actually a blood luo master, while the other was an old man in a blood-red robe. He must be a master from Cold Blood Hall. Seeing Lu Ming, Xue Luozi smiled. Haha. How should I address you, brother? I'm from the mountains, so even if I tell you, brother Xue won't know. I wonder why brother Xue has called me here? Lu Ming smiled faintly. Oh, it's very simple. I want to buy your token to enter the marrow cleansing pool. How many raw stones do you need? You can name a price. Blood Luozi said. As expected, it's because of this matter. Lu Ming sneered in his heart. The moment he saw Blood Luozi, he guessed that he was looking for him because of the token in his hand. Brother Xue, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. I don't have any plans to sell the token. Lu Ming smiled. Blood Luozi's face darkened at Lu Ming's refusal. You better think about it. The quota for the marrow cleansing pool is of little use to you. It'll only be a waste. Only in my hands will you be able to bring out the greatest effect, Zhang Xian said. There was a threatening tone in his voice. He looked at Lu Ming with a hint of disdain. He meant that it was a waste for Lu Ming to have the quota for the marrow cleansing pool. Whether I waste my time or not is my own business. There's no need for brother Xue to worry. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Lu Ming said coldly and turned to leave. Boom! All of a sudden, a terrifying and powerful aura rose up and a strong pressure pressed down on Lu Ming. It was Xue Luozi. At this moment, Xue Luozi's eyes were cold as he said, Kid, you have to give it to me even if you don't want to. It's a pure waste of a heavenly treasure to keep it on you. It can only display its greatest effect on me, you know? It'll only be of the greatest use on you. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He looked at Blood Luozi in disdain and said, First, you were defeated by Lu Shaoqing, and then you were defeated by the Divine Emperors. How can a loser like you act so high and mighty? In my opinion, it's a real waste to give you the spot. How audacious! Xue Luozi roared with a cold look. Kid, I was going to buy it from you with raw stones, but it seems like I don't have to. Just hand it over, or you'll know the consequences. The old man beside Blood Luozi also stared at Lu Ming with a cold gaze. That old man was definitely an expert. A terrifying expert. He gave Lu Ming a very dangerous feeling. However, Lu Ming was not afraid because he was in the Tianxia Academy. Idiot! Therefore, Lu Ming looked at Blood Luozi in disdain and said, You think this is Cold Blood Hall? This is the Tianxia Academy, and the Emperor is in charge. I'm afraid the Emperor has seen what you've done. Do you still want to rob it? You! Xue Luozi gritted his teeth. Indeed, this was the Tianxia Academy. Lu Ming had obtained the quota to enter the marrow cleansing pool through the Tianxu cave. If Lu Ming gave the quota to him, the Tianxia Academy might not care. But if they wanted to snatch it, the Tianxia Academy would not sit by and do nothing. He thought that with his status, Lu Ming, this kid who appeared out of nowhere, would definitely be scared to death. He would give him face and give him the token obediently. He did not expect Lu Ming to not give him any face at all. Kid, you can't hide in Tianxia Academy forever. You'd better leave yourself a way out. The old man coldly spoke. This was a blatant threat. It meant that if Lu Ming left the Tianxia Academy, no one could protect him. Hee hee. Lu Ming sneered. He was too lazy to say more. He ignored Blood Luozi and the elder and turned to leave. This made the old man and Blood Luozi so angry that their faces turned green. They were actually ignored by Lu Ming. Lu Ming walked toward the Wanxiang Jade Wall, but was stopped by another person on the way. Wu Changkong, from the Heavenly Martial Sword Sect. He carried a long sword on his back, his posture as straight as a sword, and stood in front of Lu Ming. Chapter 1063. 1063 Chapter 1063 Perfected Physical Body. Your Excellency, what's the matter? Oh, Lu Ming asked coldly. Hand over your token and give me the quota for the marrow cleansing pool. Wu Changkong went straight to the point. Lu Ming sneered. It was indeed because of the quota for the marrow cleansing pool. These people really treated him as a soft persimmon. Jing Kongling had the floating mountain sect behind him, and Yang Patian was someone they didn't dare to offend. The Emperor God had displayed great combat strength, and the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace was behind him. They didn't even look for him, but instead they looked for him. There was no doubt that Lu Ming, this person who had suddenly appeared, had become highly sought after. Idiot! Lu Ming did not bother with Wu Changkong. He took a step forward and, like a stream of light, arrived at the nature jade wall in an instant. He continued to look for the corresponding jade wall to comprehend. Wu Changkong's eyes were sharp and cold as he looked in the direction where Lu Ming had left. Lu Ming was very displeased. If these guys continued to pester him, Lu Ming did not mind using thunderous means to teach them a lesson. He continued to search for jade pieces. Not long after, Lu Ming found a jade piece with a profound thunder concept and studied it in detail. Time flowed like water. Half a month had passed since Lu Ming passed through the Tianshu cave. At this moment, someone came to inform Lu Ming that the marrow cleansing pool had been opened and he could enter. Lu Ming followed the person and flew over many mountains. They came to a small hill. When he arrived, he realized that Jing Kongling, Di Shun, and Yang Patian had already arrived. Seeing Lu Ming, Qing Junling smiled. The Divine Emperor sized Lu Ming up curiously. Yang Patian, on the other hand, had his hands behind his back and did not even look at Lu Ming. All right, open the marrow cleansing pool. There were a few white-haired old men here. The mental energy fire between their eyebrows jumped and runes appeared, entering the hill. Ka-ka. The hill split open, revealing an ancient bluestone road that led to the front. Go, the marrow cleansing pool is just ahead. You only have 3 days. Once the 3 days are up, you must come out. An old man reminded, and everyone nodded. Yang Patian took the lead and walked towards the ancient bluestone road. After that, Di Shan, Jing Kongling, and Lu Ming stepped onto the ancient road and moved forward. After stepping on the ancient road, a place full of spiritual qi appeared in front of them. On the ground there were 9 pools which were covered with a faint mist, like 9 celestial pools. This was the marrow cleansing pool. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. He did not expect that there would be 9 marrow cleansing pools. However, the area wasn't large. Each bite was only a few meters in radius. The 4 of them each chose one and walked over, stepping into the marrow cleansing pool one after another. As soon as Lu Ming stepped into the marrow cleansing pool, he immediately felt a mysterious power in the surroundings that continuously drilled into his body. It was the pool water. It was the power transformed from the pool water. The water in the marrow cleansing pool had a mysterious power. Of course, it was not just the water. The entire marrow cleansing pool had a field energy that aided the water to permeate every part of Lu Ming's body. At this moment, Lu Ming could feel that his physical body was improving rapidly. Initially, Lu Ming's physical body had already reached the 9th rank. At this moment, he was constantly climbing toward the peak of the 9th rank. It's so comfortable. Lu Ming sighed. Originally, cleansing one's meridians and marrow was an extremely painful thing. However, there was no pain at all here. Instead, he felt comfortable all over. Lu Ming could clearly feel that the impurities and dirt in his body were being cleared by a kind of wonderful energy. It made his body purer and dustless. Time passed by quickly. 3 days passed just like that. Voila! Lu Ming rushed to the marrow cleansing pool with a burning gaze. So good. Lu Ming felt refreshed and his body was empty. Right now, his body was simply perfect with perfect lines. His body seemed to be made of stainless divine gold, powerful and pure. Complete grade 9. Complete grade. Is this the limit of the physical body? Lu Ming felt it carefully and his face was filled with joy. He had a feeling that his physical body had reached perfection and had reached a limit. It was impossible for him to improve it any further. If it continued to rise, it would no longer be a mortal body, but a whole new level. Jing Kongling, Di Shan Yang Patian, and the others also came out of the marrow cleansing pool with smiles on their faces. Obviously, they had also gained a great harvest. Yang Patian was the first to step out, and then the others came out of the marrow cleansing pool one after another. Outside, a few old men were still waiting. When they came out, the old men carved inscriptions and the hill returned to its original state. Boom! 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 It was at this moment that 9 pillars of light shot up into the sky in the distance. The heavens and earth shook, and it was extremely shocking. Everyone looked in that direction in shock, because that was where the Myriad elephant jade wall was. What was going on? Could this be the Holy Mansion? The Holy Mansion has opened. A few elders from the Tianxia Academy were excited and their voices trembled. Holy Mansion! Lu Ming and the rest were shocked. It was said that the 10,000 elephant jade wall had a great secret. It was connected to a divine treasury and a secret realm. It was very mysterious. 30,000 years ago, that divine treasury could still be opened occasionally, and supreme experts would enter to cultivate and comprehend the Tao. Contained great opportunities. However, 30,000 years ago, a terrifying war broke out in the central continent. There was a rebellion in the ancient Saint dynasty. That war directly weakened the power of the ancient Saint dynasty's Xie clan, and the central continent was split up by the various emperors. In that battle, the world's academies were also seriously affected. In the end, even the method to open the divine treasury was lost. From then on, no one had ever opened the divine treasury and the Saint Mansion. Could it be that it had opened again? Buzz! 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 Without any hesitation, Lu Ming and the rest rose into the air and flew in the direction of the Myriad elephant jade wall. At this moment, Lu Ming saw beams of rainbow light flying out from the huge white jade palace in the sky. Beams of light flew out from all the peaks of the Tianxia Academy toward the Wanxiang jade wall. Very soon, Lu Ming and the group arrived. At this moment, all of the Wanxiang jade walls glowed, and inscriptions emerged. They gathered into 9 huge pillars of light that shot into the sky. Outside the 9 pillars of light, there were countless figures standing. Apparently, the heroes who were meditating on the Myriad elephant jade wall had been expelled for some reason. Buzz! As soon as Lu Ming arrived, a little turtle leaped onto his shoulder. Dandan, what's going on? Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Dandan. Haha, Lu Ming, how is it? I've deciphered the secret of this place and activated the formation. Dandan sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming smugly. You did it. Lu Ming was a little speechless. In fact, he had already guessed that it might be because of Dandan. He did not expect that it was really Dandan who did it. This place is connected to a secret realm. It's amazing. Dandan sighed. Boom! 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 At this moment, more and more people appeared in the air. Some of the elders were exuding terrifying auras. Supreme martial artists. There are so many supreme martial artists. Lu Ming was all too familiar with this aura. It was the aura of a supreme. Some of them were martial arts supreme masters, while others were inscription Tao supreme masters. There were no less than 10 of them. Chapter 1064. 1064 The Secret Realm of Saint Mansion. The Tianxia Academy did indeed have people who cultivated the way of inscription and martial arts. Their strength was extremely powerful and unfathomable. There were also many whose auras were weaker than supremes, but that was only in comparison. In fact, they were also extremely powerful and were definitely high-level spiritual gods. The Saint Mansion has opened. The Saint Mansion that hasn't been opened for 30,000 years has actually opened. The headmaster's decision is correct. The voices echoed in the sky. Buzz. Suddenly, an old man stepped out and rushed towards one of the light pillars. However, as soon as he rushed in, a look of horror appeared on his face and he let out a miserable scream. The next moment his body exploded, and his body and soul were destroyed. Many people gasped and shivered. The old man was definitely a high-level spiritual god, but he had died just like that. What was going on? How could this be? It said that anyone can enter the holy mansion, so why did Elder Wu die? A voice of disbelief was heard from the Tianxia Academy. 30,000 years ago, no matter if it was male or female, old or young, no matter how strong one's cultivation was, they could enter the Saint Mansion to find opportunities and cultivate there. But just now, why did that old man die? Has the rules of the Saint Mansion changed? Someone made a guess. Many people thought it was possible. After all, the Saint Mansion had been closed for 30,000 years. It was possible that the rules had changed. In this way, no one dared to act rashly. No one knew if they would die if they rushed in. After that, the Tianxia Academy sent experts to investigate and see what was going on. The news of the reopening of the Sage Mansion of the World Academy spread like a storm. Dandan, do you know what's going on? Lu Ming brought Dandan to a mountain peak 100 miles away and asked. According to my speculation, those 9 pillars of light are the spatial paths, the passages to the secret realm. However, these passages contain an aging array, which has a requirement for the age of the entrance. However, I haven't studied the specific age restrictions, so I'm not too sure. Dandan explained. There's an age requirement? That's strange. Lu Ming was a little surprised. According to the rumors, there was no age limit in this mystic realm 30,000 years ago. However, there was no point in overthinking. Lu Ming then cultivated while waiting for news. Lu Ming did not want to miss it if he could enter the secret realm. It was said that there were great opportunities in the secret realm. In the past, there were often ultimate powerhouses cultivating in there. If those ultimate powerhouses could leave something behind, it would be a great opportunity. That was because the strongest people in the world were all emperors. As time passed, more and more people came to the Tianxia Academy. Many major forces received the news and a large number of people rushed over. In fact, some of the overlord forces even sent their supreme martial artists. For example, the forces closest to the Tianxia Academy, such as the Floating Mountain, Cold Blood Hall, Sky Eagle Castle, Tianwu Sword Sect, Demon Mountain, and the Ji family. There were also many people from smaller forces. Even more geniuses had arrived. For a time, the world's academies were filled with strong people. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. At this time, the Tianxia Academy released news that they had already investigated the rules of the entrance to the secret realm of the Saint Mansion. Only creatures under the age of 50 could enter. Those above the age of 50 would die if they entered. Moreover, the Tianxia Academy and the supreme leaders of the various forces had already discussed that anyone from the major forces could enter. However, because there were too many people who came to the Tianxia Academy, many of them were below the age of 50. It was obviously not feasible for so many people to enter. Therefore, the Tianxia Academy planned to conduct a screening. Only those whose combat strength had reached a certain level could enter. It was said that the secret realm of the Saint Mansion was very dangerous. If one didn't have enough combat power, they would die. A day later, a huge array rose in a huge square of the Tianxia Academy. This array was the selection place. Anyone under the age of 50 could come here to participate in the general selection. Only those who passed could enter the secret realm of the Saint Mansion. The square was surrounded by a sea of people. Countless people from all the major forces had gathered. Lu Ming was also among the crowd. There were some people standing in the sky. Many of them were old men, and some of them looked young. Everyone knew that these people were the supreme being experts of the major forces. In this formation, puppets will be formed. You guys can enter and kill them. Every time you kill a puppet, there will be essence chi covering your body. At first it will be red, but as more and more essence chi is gathered, the color of your essence chi will change. Then it will be orange, yellow, green, and finally purple. Only when the color of the spiritual essence gathered in your body reaches yellow will you pass the test and enter the secret realm of the Saint Mansion. If you don't reach the yellow color, you will be eliminated. The test begins now. In the sky, an old man from the Tianxia Academy announced the selection rules. The rules were simple. They had to enter the formation, kill the puppets, and accumulate essence qi. Once the essence qi reached a certain standard, they would pass the test. As soon as the old man finished speaking, many people rushed into the formation. There were many young men, but most of them looked to be in their 30s or 40s. This time, those below the age of 50 could enter. Those who were 50 were half to one generation older than Lu Ming's generation. Naturally, there were more people. This formation could accommodate tens of thousands of people at the same time. However, a few minutes later, people were continuously being teleported out. They were covered in a layer of light, but they were all red. He had clearly been eliminated. These people haven't even reached the spirit embryo realm, so they naturally can't enter. Lu Ming shook his head. He could tell the cultivation of these people. More than 10 minutes later, more people were eliminated. Many of these people were covered in an orange glow, but they were still eliminated. Most of these people's cultivation was below the 6th level spirit embryo realm. After that, the people who were teleported out were all covered in yellow. These people all revealed looks of joy, because they had succeeded. As long as the light on their bodies reached yellow, it would be considered a success. It seems that it's more or less enough to reach the 6th level spirit embryo realm and above. Lu Ming thought to himself. He realized that the people who had succeeded were generally at the 6th level spirit embryo realm or above. However, there were also young prodigies whose cultivation was below the 6th level spirit embryo realm. But their combat strength had obviously reached the 6th level spirit embryo realm or above. More than an hour later, the first batch of people who went and came out. The strongest few people were covered in purple light, which was extremely shocking. Lu Ming saw that Jun Yu and Xue Luozi were all covered in purple light. However, most of the people who were covered in purple light were in their 30s or 40s. These people had been cultivating for a long time, and their combat strength was very strong. In the second batch, tens of thousands of people entered. From this, it could be seen how many people were gathered in Tianxia Academy. And this was only for those below the age of 50. If there was no age limit, the number of people would be terrifying. Lu Ming was also in the second group. Once he stepped into the formation, a puppet that looked like a demonic beast formed and pounced at him. Those below the spirit embryo realm. Lu Ming threw a punch, turning all the puppets into dust. At the same time, red essence qi flew over and covered Lu Ming's body. Following that, more puppets were formed. However, they were too weak and were easily killed by Lu Ming. The light that enveloped Lu Ming's body also slowly solidified and brightened. Slowly, the strength of the puppets that appeared became stronger and stronger. They had reached the spirit embryo realm. But Lu Ming still dealt with them with a single punch. You're tuning into the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.